Hello everyone and welcome to GPVWC. This is round 14 of this 16 round championship, so it's really starting to hot up now in the blisteringly hot and very humid streets of Marina Bay here in Singapore. We have a pretty long Grand Prix ahead of us, 62 laps around here. It's the lowest average speed circuit on the calendar, making it presumably the longest Grand Prix disregarding weather. And it's also one of the toughest for the drivers mentally and physically. They're just about keeping it out of the walls, and they got to do that time and time and time again for over an hour and a half. My name is Caitlin Penny. I'm going to be joined as usual by first of all broadcast director Remco Zeeuw, who is providing all of the sights and sounds and the stream that you're watching, and alongside me is, as always, as usual anyway, my co-commentator Ed Hunter. Ed, how are you today?
Yeah, I guess not as always, because I haven't been here since the dawn of time itself. But not that GPV's been going that long, but it has been going a good old 25 years, which is definitely commendable. And yeah, I'm in a good mood. I turned 30 last week, so I'm officially older than I used to be, which I guess you can say about anyone after a bit of time has passed. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and it really feels like we have got, while the Teams Championship could well be sewn up tonight, Caitlin, by THR, I think it's very much with 3 rounds to go, a three-way title fight in the drivers, although there's a bit of uncertainty about what the standings actually look like at the moment, but we probably won't talk about it too much, given we've got a very, very exciting event ahead of us as quali is very much underway, and surprise, surprise, it's our reigning champion that is lining up the first sector there. As you can see, Grankfist absolutely loves this place.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk a bit more about the championship in a bit, because the controversy we were mentioning in the last round has not been resolved, and we're not entirely sure how official that that approved appeal from Jarl Tyen.
That says it all, doesn't it?
I was going to say, we don't actually know if it was rejected or appealed, because we've had one version of events, and nominally Jarl Tyen was given the win of the Belgian Grand Prix, but we're still waiting to see just how official that actually was, and we're expecting an announcement from the big boss himself, Will Panisi, by the end of the night. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that on the GPVWC Discord and on other places, because that will be a bombshell in terms of the actual championship fight. As we see it on the official standings and on the spreadsheet that I use, we have Jarl Tyen and Loic Meunier absolutely neck and neck. We have Jarl Tyen and Loic Meunier both on 177 points each, 0 points separating them, and then themselves, they are 12 points ahead of Jan Grankvist, who is third in the championship, and Tom Stevens and Shimon Frelick. But we have a couple of driver changes for today as well, slightly muddying the waters. You'll notice an unfamiliar, for this season anyway, unfamiliar name up in second place at the minute. This is Adam Maguire, the winner of the last 2 Singapore Grand Prix. He's raced for THR. He's raced for back when they were VBM Esports, in fact, a long time ago, and of course Nocturne as well, which is the team that he's currently racing for. 2020 GPVWC champion, but he has not driven a single race in 2025 just yet. He's very much been on the sidelines, just cheering on his team. But he is out here today on the streets of Singapore that he loves so much, and he could absolutely be a contender here today. Even though Fraser Tartan is not expected to be the best car, Adam Maguire is certainly one of the best drivers, and we always hear the likes of Toby Davis, THR boss, hyping him up and saying that Adam is one of the fastest and best drivers that he's ever worked with. We also have a brand new driver for the day who we're watching just coming into the pit lane. This is Scott Flack, the Australian for Stax Racing. Stax, we always mention them being a little bit of a revolving door. We never quite know who's going to be in their lineup. But today we have Scott Flack, and he is most well known from Formula Sprint 1. He has a victory there from Hungary this year, and he was also driving in the Formula Sprint 1 round at Singapore just a couple of days, well, 1 week ago exactly, where he got a 11th place finish followed by a 9th place finish. But this is his first outing in GPVWC, and always a difficult place to make a debut would be the streets of Singapore. So I definitely wish him the best of luck in what will be a massive step up in his sim racing career. The last driver who we can't show you just yet, but who is worth mentioning, is obviously Szymon Frelick has been gaining positions in the championship as of late. He's in 5th position in the championship standings as we are now, although he is not here today. We're not entirely sure why. Carlos Martin mentioned something in the Discord about he might have got sick, but unfortunately that means that Szymon Frelick is not here today, and he is going to be replaced by another familiar name, Owen McGorgy, who won 2 Grand Prix last year despite running a limited schedule, and he will be taking that TOP esports car over. The reason he's not on the server just yet is because he is doing the R&D test for TOP as well, but he will be presumably joining our qualifying session as soon as that is finished. But I've been talking for a while. Ed Hunter, what do you make of those driver changes there? Adam Maguire and Owen McGorky, of course, returning to GPVWC, both race winners from previous seasons, and of course Scott Flack making his debut here tonight.
Yeah, of course, Stacks have sort of gone through a number of drivers, haven't they? And I think it was Scott Flack, Robert Milling, of course. Milling's done a couple of races as we look at the dark blue TOP esports car driven by Carlos Martin, who is here tonight. So it was Simon who I think had to miss the race as Carlos goes 6th fastest then. And of course it will be hopefully Owen McGorgy in the other TOP, because TOP desperately need to sort of have one last shot at trying to hold on to THR in that team's championship, of course, after Carlos got very cruelly disconnected in the late stages of the Mexican Grand Prix. As we see Xavi Ross displacing Carlos for that 6th position there. And yeah, as for Adam Maguire, not surprising to see him on the front row as things stand, because Maguire always very, very strong around here. It seems to be a circuit that really plays to his strengths. Of course, he's had most of the year sort of out with, I think, a lot of real-life commitments for the Irishman. But always great to see him, as you say, 2020 champion with the Adonis team, of course. And he's a great friend of THR and the Fraser Tartan team. So hopefully Adam can have another strong showing here, because it's a bit like when Denahan filled in, another Irishman who sort of filled in for one race just as a favour to someone essentially, and did very, very well, won at the Nürburgring. So I think Adam Maguire very much seeking to emulate his countrymen there and remind everyone what they're missing.
David Fidok has just messaged me and reminded me that Adam Maguire is not racing for Nocturne tonight. He is racing for Fraser Tartan Racing.
I didn't want to have a go about it, yeah.
Which is exactly the same team, in my defence. It's just a change, basically a rebranded team.
Well, I've got a lot of messages from Toby criticising me for the way I pronounced Fraser, so I've been at it Frazier, like the Cheers spin-off. Yeah. So yeah, I've been trying desperately to sort of correct that, because obviously when you're in a racing situation, you've got to say the name very quickly. It's great lap by Maciej Milnek in the HRT. He's another driver that's not had much luck recently. Purple middle sector, 35.2. Great lap, but only 19 thousandths off of Grankvist's pole time.
Maciej Milnek, who has only been on the podium once since his singular victory this year at the United States Grand Prix. I'm expecting much more before the end of the season from that HRT driver. But yeah, sorry about the misnomer in the FTR and Nocturne name. But then again, nobody would bat an eye if you referred to V-Carb as Toro Rosso, or, I mean, I think they'd probably notice if you said Minardi, but, you know...
Or if you called Aston Martin Force India, maybe?
Yeah, that might be a bit different. Anyway, Stein Handgraf across the line, and that is a good lap from the Green Stripes driver. Green Stripes were presumably quite disappointed to have dropped to last in the team standings last time out, as Lucas Murno put in a stunning performance for Stacks to take 13 points, I think it was, 6th. 8 points. He scored an 8th place finish at the Mexican Grand Prix, and moved the Stacks team with just one result ahead of the Green Stripes Racing team, despite only having 1 points finish to Green Stripes' 4. But then again, all of Green Stripes' points finishes have been 15th places from Stein Handgraf, who is now 14th place in the session. And Owen McGorgy completes his first qualifying lap, goes 26th there for TOP, who have a special livery tonight for Singapore. You'll notice the deep blue of the TOP esports car, and I'll try to get some information about why.
It looks very Super Venturi-esque. Hasn't there been a sort of long-running thing where TOP and the Netrex teams desperately trying to make fun of Super Venturi by stealing their livery, and Super Venturi replying by upping their own livery to look a bit like the Netrex ones. So
yeah,
there's definitely a bit of a...
those two teams who swapped their liveries for the last race for Brazil last year?
It was, yeah, there was sort of a big alternate livery, or sort of... they were basically trying to do a big in-joke, and it was not at all confusing for the commentary team in very heavy rain, where it's difficult to tell who it is at the best of times. To see Mark Schluter completing a flying lap to go 13th fastest. I was just going to say about Green Stripes, we've got a new driver in that team. Instead of Vopke Hoekstra, we've got our new Superlights champion, Jose Soriano, who, of course, sealed that title only on Tuesday, already having a go at Super League now as the Spaniard. So another Spanish driver joins the grid, along with Carlos Martin and, of course, Sergio Fletcher as well, as we see Maggio completing his second or third flying run, only good enough for 16th fastest. I wonder how many of these teams are going to try and qualify outside the top 15 so that they can start on the harder compounder tyre. At the moment, THR, they've got Tyan in 7th and Stevens in 5th, so it looks like they're changing tack at a circuit where track position's a little more key than it has been the last couple of rounds at Monza and Mexico City.
Yeah, I don't think they're actually going to attempt to qualify outside of the top 15 today. That was very much a Monza tactic, which worked spectacularly well for Jarl Tyen back there. You're absolutely right about Jose Soriano as well. Congratulations to Jose for wrapping up that Super League title, Super Lights title.
There we go.
And yes, I completely missed the fact that he was on the grid for today, so my apologies about that. But Jose Soriano absolutely deserves to be here in Super League, and it is about time that he made his debut. Same goes, of course, for the likes of Sandeep Singh. I know it's not his debut here, but he absolutely deserves to be in Super League rather than...
He was P10 in Mexico, Sandeep. He had a very good drive along with Myrna, as you said earlier.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And look, with Sandeep, it makes perfect sense that I was speaking to Jeffrey Fournier earlier, and he was saying that Sandeep is going to be in that seat for the rest of the year. And I was saying that makes perfect sense because he's going to wrap up the FS2 title. He would probably win FS2 even if he didn't race at either of the last two race meetings. But since we're into the last few races of the year anyway, it's not like he's going to be barred from racing in any of those FS2 races. So he's free to race in Super League from now until the end of the season with no restrictions. And that's why we see Sandeep in that Epic Racing Team car, which he also took out in the last race. Bit of a twitch there though. This lap I don't think will be his quickest.
Yeah, that rear end really twitching on the Epic car. But even at this late phase of the season, it's still pretty competitive, the Epic. It's had some good showings here and there. Fournier's got it to 7th on the grid at the moment, but Sandeep languishing down in 28th. Needs a solid effort here. He's about half a second off in that middle sector, and with less than 90 seconds left on the clock, this is the business end of qualifying now. And look at our top four. We got all three of our title contenders in the top four. There is Sandeep, heads to the pits, so that's his qualifying done, I'm afraid. As here comes Tom Stevens, stays 6th fastest at that middle sector, just a 10th and a half down on Grankvist there, but slower than his personal best, crucially. So really it is our three title contenders and Maciej Milnek, the cat very much amongst the pigeons. I think Milnek's been a bit unlucky last couple of races being disconnected, because I think he'd be right in the mix, or not too far away at least. Had that he had a bit more fortune on his side. So great to see him really hooking up, and this is going to be his last effort in qualifying as he swings it in to Shears, turn 1 into turn 2, where we saw in real life our two McLaren drivers, Lando Norris and Piastri, getting a little too close for comfort. As into 3 and 4 we come, and now the long run all the way through to 6 and 7 and Memorial Corner. So Milnek, he's absolutely got to go for pole, because he's not going to get too many chances to win at the end of this season with the big title fight going on around him. He's going to want to be well clear of everybody else at the start of this race, if it's at all possible.
Yeah, he's on the ragged edge here. He missed the apex in turn 3 and he touched the wall coming out of turn 4. He's a little bit down in the first sector. This looks to be slightly over the limit for Maciej Munich. This section's tricky. I think, again, he would have liked to have taken it a bit shallower than he actually did. Although he's got the Anderson Bridge absolutely hooked up. And now he comes over the other part of the bridge back onto the mainland Singapore. And it's a purple middle sector, very strong sector there, and an improvement on his time. Purple, of course, means that he's the fastest of anyone in that sector, not just faster than his own personal best. He's coming through the last couple of corners. That looked a little, I think he took a bit too much out of that, but we'll keep watching his time just in case. Out of the final corner he comes, across the line. Is it an improvement? It is not. And I'm not surprised, I'm afraid. I saw a couple of mistakes on that lap. I think he was just going for broke. But to be honest, why not? He had absolutely nothing to lose. Adam Maguire here, two-time winner of this race, the last 2 Singapore Grand Prix, in fact, trying to make it a hat-trick. And he's coming up towards this final chicane that used to be so much slower before they removed the previous chicane, and now it's a massively heavy braking zone. Into the final corner he goes. He almost loses it there, almost loses control entirely, and does not improve on his own lap. I think there was an improvement from Jose Soriano, who will be 7th. Very nice. Tomasz Vok goes 9th. We know that his teammate Alex Lahoe will not be improving. He unfortunately crashed on his in-lap quite early on. And I think that's going to be it then. I'm trying to see if anyone else is on a flying lap, but I think that is it for the qualifying session. So Jan Grankvist, reigning champion, is on pole position alongside Maciej Munich. And then Loic Mounier, who is one of his main championship rivals this year, is in 3rd. Jarl Tyen and Adam Maguire are 4th and 5th in the sister team cars, and Tom Stevens 6th. This is THR's best qualifying in a long, long time. Jose Soriano on his debut is P7. Great performance there. Look out for him in this one. And then we have Jeffrey Fournier, Tomasz Vok, and Robin Panzer. And those are the top 10. Ignore the numbers now as people duck in and out of the server. It starts to get a bit confused. We've got Xavi Rose. I think, didn't you say Rose had a penalty? We might come back to that.
Panzer does. Panzer does.
Panzer, okay, I've got the wrong. Anyway, then it's Lahoe, Martin, Schluter, Lahoe, Handgraf, Schubert, Roa, Maggio, and Kilk, the top 20. We'll add in any penalties that might be left to apply in just a little bit. Dylan Fisher, Chris Shepherd, Sergio Fletcher, Owen McGorgy, who didn't get much time in qualifying, so we can't be too critical on him for that. Then Jorge Marquinez, Robin Merling, Pascal Pollant, Scott Flack on his debut out-qualifies Hygo Poom and Sandeep Singh. Very good stuff, very tight qualifying up in front, just 0.03 of a second separating it, and that is great stuff. Now, talking of great stuff, we have an editor on our hands. Ed Hunter, alongside me, has put together the highlights of the last Grand Prix to show you and remind you what took place back 2 weeks ago. The 5 red lights will illuminate, and when they go out, we will be underway for 71 laps of racing here at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, and we are underway, and it's a pretty slow start there for Szymon Frelick. Frelick's going to be slightly gobbled up by Stefan Roll, who's got a fantastic slipstream from the back of Carlos Martin and gets to the inside now of Jan Grankvist and will take the lead potentially into turn 1. Grankvist covers him off and makes the corner. Jan Grankvist keeps the lead, followed by Stefan Roll, Alex Lahoe, Szymon Frelick and Carlos Martin.
As Moinier's going around the outside of Moritz Krop into turn 1, that's going to be tight. He makes it work.
We're watching Frelick passing Alex Lahoe into turn 3. Now, as you were saying before, Frelick's becoming a real dark horse in this championship.
As we see Lahoe trying to counter-attack up the inside, back past Szymon Frelick there. That was not part of TOP's game plan, but here we go.
Look at this.
Is alongside up the inside into turn 1. Grankvist gives him a wide berth, and Stefan Ruhl takes the lead. And that is very much freed up as we see Vac having a go. Though it's Lahoe who's made a couple of mistakes and dropped down to P7 as he goes very wide off track up the inside. Comes Tom Stevens, and surely that's another place for Stevens as Lahoe is struggling to get the car turned in.
He's going slowly. He's got problems. And Alex Lahoe has bitten the dust. And he says in the YouTube chat he got a drive-through and can't be bothered to carry on. Now, that is bizarre.
Rot has pit from the lead and come out in 22nd behind Jukka-Pekka Lalu, and Xavi Ross has also pit. And now we're seeing Moynier in response, along with Grankvist and Frelick.
Tom Stevens now leads the race because Martin, Kropp, Tyen, Wok and Pollens have all pulled into the pits. Into the pits, Sven Schubert and Tom Stevens also in.
As into the pits comes Markinez in the Spark, so that's going to promote them all another position here as Rot. Finally up the inside, Grankvist moving in synchronicity as well at the same time to go up the inside of the Estonian Hygo Poom there. And you can see Moynier as well has actually cleared Simon Frelick in all of this as they both clear the epic racing of Sandeep Singh at the same time.
Quick look at the leaders, Geoffrey Fournier and Dylan Fisher, both the lead driver on their tyre compounds, and Loic Mounier, the Maurits Hygo Poom as he moves up to P7.
That's a bold move. Loic wasn't going to wait for the straight there. He's right up the inside through the XF, the Peril Tada, but this is going to create an opportunity for Frelick to go free wide. He sees the door open up the inside, contact between Moynier and Shepard there, and that's going to allow Hygo Poom alongside as well. A little bit more wheel banging between the pair of them, and look, it's the Adonis swinging in between of Xavi Ross that gains 2 places in 1 there. So very, very grateful is the Spaniard who, after another great qualifying, is right in the mix as Shepard, loses out there. As he tries desperately to get alongside Sandeep Singh, who has also been able to capitalise.
We're on board with Shimon Frelick. You can see Mounier and Poom fighting up ahead, and he's just gonna, it's pretty much a triple overtake there as he goes into the corner, up the inside of Chris Shepard as well. Here's a replay with Hygo Poom as the centre of attention. Little bit of a touch actually between Mounier and Shepard, and then it's as Shepard comes over, they bang wheels with Hygo Poom, who runs over the grass and loses out a couple of positions. As there's a big scrap now with Lucas Murno being demoted a couple of places.
Moinier! Hits it!
And there was contact with the championship leader there, Lucas Murno up the inside. He's going to be followed through by Xavi Rose, who's gained a few places in this whole scrap. Yeah, so there was a yellow flag while we were watching this, but I think we were just trying to find the replay of what happened to Panzer. He locks up and he goes into the side of Riot Kilk. And that would explain potentially why Riot Kilk has also called it a day at the same time that Robin Panzer did, of Dylan Fisher.
He got barged out again by Moynier. Well, yeah. Moynier, it was Moynier hit someone else earlier, isn't it? It was Murno. And then Xavi Ross, locks wheels with him. And oh dear, that's come to grief for both of them. So more horrible luck for Dylan Fisher. And Xavi Ross, horrible rejoin.
I was just about to point out that Ross had made another pit stop, and I didn't think that was right. And that would explain why, because he's rejoined straight into the side of an epic racing car. I think the initial incident was Ross coming from too far back. Then it was an edge, sorry. Oh,
it was Schluter, definitely. Now we see Murno on fresh tyres, picking off Handgraf and dropping him out the points.
Tom Stevens through on Moritz Kropp into P5. Moritz Kropp does still have the DRS.
Grankvist going for the lead.
To Stefan Roll, goes around the outside and gets the inside for the chicane. Jan Grankvist retakes the lead of the race. Here comes Shimon Frelick now, and we've seen him do a double overtake before. They're going to go side by side once again for the lead. Stefan Roll on the outside. Loic Mounier getting involved behind. And Mounier, and I think there was a little touch there between Mounier and Frelick.
And Rot has had enough. In he comes. Moynier pits in. He got to react.
Exits the pits on those hard tyres like Mounier. P12 and comes out just behind Stefan Rot.
Frelick in.
And Frelick goes on to another set of slick tyres. He goes on to the medium compound of tyres.
So Schubert has got Rot going around the outside. Moynier keen to follow through. Just enough space left for him by the Fraser Tutton there. Schubert turning from the outside at the hairpin, and Moynier is putting it all on the line in increasingly wet conditions.
So Pascal Pollens in the S's, and I was saying that these could get absolutely treacherous when it rains, and he's going to take a little too much curb there and just get sideways and wallop. Pascal Pollens destroys his car against the barriers. Jan Grankvist pitted from the lead, and Grankvist comes out well. And Frelick jumps him, but also they both come out well behind the likes of Rot and Mounier.
It's up the inside into the Adrian Fernandez corner, into the Ferrosol. He's going to go around the outside of Sven Schubert on the mediums, and just enough traction to make that one work. That was bold.
Mounier getting up towards the back of Stefan Rot's car. How much of an attempt did he actually have here? He's properly gone for it there. I think he was intending to go up into 3rd position, and then Roth has just... He's got it. Sorry, my apologies. I must have zoned out for a second there, because Loic Meunier has indeed...
also, at the exact same time, passed Frelick in a very similar fashion.
Yeah, you're right. Jan Granqvist has got past Shimon Frelick at exactly the same time that Meunier passed Roth.
That is interesting because it shows that Frelick, maybe even with the mediums, was just too vulnerable going into that opening corner. Tyne pits from P2 as in comes Stevens.
Yeah, Tyne gets through on Murno. And look at Stefan Roll. He is lining him up. He goes to the inside line and will pass Loic Meunier in exactly the same part of the track.
Late dive from Granqvist into the Ferrosol, and that's really going to lose both of them time as Meunier nearly pushes Granqvist into the wall there.
A moment of desperation there for Jan Granqvist. He saw Meunier run wide in the previous corner. He saw that he'd made a mistake and he thought, now is my time to shine. And he does go through on the inside of Loic Meunier up into turn 1.
And here's Carlos, who, as you say, was doing really well. There was still a chance in the team's championship for TOP. And going into the first corner, does the connection just fail on him? Yes, it does.
This will be a chance to take the lead of the race, potentially. He'll have the DRS. How much push to pass does he use? We have literally no way of checking. But he goes to the inside, and that will be a relatively straightforward move. He sweeps past Roll and leads the race.
Granqvist in the pits. Schubert pits for the Inters.
That's an interesting strategy, and Sven Schubert comes out in 14th place. That may end up paying into his hands if it rains heavier. Meunier and Roth both come into the pits from the lead of the race, and that means that Shimon Frelick will also come in, and Tom Stevens will take the lead. Now, Tom Stevens' fate rests in the weather. If it keeps raining, he will have to stop, and he will drop behind this bunch.
So will the rest of them. They're all going on the dries, Caitlin, except for Vrult.
Wow.
Vrult, Schubert, Shepard, and Xavi Ross that are on the intermediate tyres right now. So their gamble really is that the rain keeps going and it doesn't dry out, but it has just dried out. Oh no, has Stefan Vrult, by gambling, lost everything here?
Stefan Roll comes into the pits, so he's been forced to give up on his strategy. No real surprise there, and that means that Roll is now out of contention.
Oh, and to add insult to injury for poor Stefan Vrult, guess what's just happened? It started raining again. Murno pits from 7th then, so he is going to take the gamble on the Inter, surely.
Sandeep Singh is in the pits as well now.
Drop pits.
Side, apparently. Okay,
interesting.
And Shimon Frelick in as well. And into the pits comes Tom Stevens. He is coming in. So Stevens pits. What do the likes of Jarl Tyne do? What does Jan Granqvist do? They both come in as well. Goodness me. Out of the pits goes... That's a car who's a lap down. That's Hygo Poom, I think. Loic
Meunier staying out.
Meunier leads the race.
Meunier in the lead with just 11 laps to go, but he is on exactly the wrong tyres here. This is going to be so scary to watch as he just struggles to get the power down out of every single corner here. Tyne pit with Granqvist right behind him. I think Granqvist has got out first because THR had to double stack there. Stevens, Granqvist, Tyne all now on the Inters, and they come out just ahead of Moritz Krop by about 4 seconds. Schubert round the outside of Vrult. There we go. So yeah, the dry's still not the tyres to be on at the present moment, and Schubert taking advantage of that.
But to be honest, he knows that Meunier is going to go offline soon anyway. It's just inevitable. And there's one such instance coming through the arena section. Out of the final turn there, Stevens is going to get underneath him, and there is absolutely nothing that Loic Meunier can do there.
And as we see, Meunier has lost as he has to go very, very wide at the exit, the hairpin. Up the inside comes Granqvist into the S's, and this time Meunier's got no chance of holding on around the outside. This is now Vrult picks off Sandeep Singh for 9th here.
Once again, you see the number of positions that the THR drivers have gained. 9 places in the case of Stevens, 8 in the case of Tyne. He's about to make that 9 as well. He goes up the inside of Loic Meunier and takes another place away from the championship leader. And this time Moritz Krop not quite able to capitalize, but I'm sure he will on the exit here. As you see, wow, squirming around is Loic Meunier. You can see how desperate he is to get the power down, but it's not going to matter as Moritz Krop is going to come through on the straight. And there he goes, the Fraser Tartan racing car running as high up as 4th position.
And it's fallen, as Meunier's now just really struggling to keep it in a straight line. And I imagine it's the same for Markinev, Shepard and Handgraf.
But Stevens, once again, has somehow pulled something out of nothing. He was about 10th on the grid, and Tom Stevens has won the Mexican Grand Prix. Tom Stevens wins the race, as demonstrated by that beautiful image of the top 3 parked up exactly where they should be. Jan Granqvist is second second. Then it's Jarl Tyen, Moritz Kropp, who you can see just parked at the back there trying to get in on the action. Then it's Shimon Frelick, Loic Meunier, Sven Schubert, Lucas Murno there in the Stax racing car, who helps his team to beat the Green Stripes team, to jump ahead of them in the championship. Then it's the unfortunate Stefan Roll, who drove a fantastic race but got caught out by the weather. Then Sandeep Singh, a top 10 finish on his return to Super League for the first time this year. Then if we go to the second slate, you can see Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Xavi Roos, Heigo Poom, Jorge Markineth, Jeffrey Fournier and Stein Handgraf. You can see, of course, Fournier being the last points finisher. Okay, welcome back guys to Singapore for round 14 of the 2025 GPVWC Super League Championship. We have just seen qualifying, yet again another close one, just as we've come to expect with this particular championship. And calling a winner out of this one is going to be impossible until at least partway through the race. Now Ed, THR have been on a real run of form recently, winning the last 4 Grand Prix, or probably winning the last 4 Grand Prix, as the case may be. I think the question tonight is, what's going to happen if they get to the front? Are they going to hold station? Are they going to try to sorry, are they going to try to blast off into the distance, try to get as much ground between themselves and everyone else as they can? Are they going to work together with Adam Maguire, who will also be up there in the sister car? There's a lot of questions surrounding that team tonight.
Yeah, whoa, as I get incredibly distracted by Alex Lahoe's antics. He's realised he's on stream and he is, boy is he milking it in the warm-up. That's right, Gil looks on a bit bemused, I think. But anyway, yes, going back to your THR question, they've got the Teams Championship. They can potentially seal it tonight. They need to be 90 points ahead of the next team, which is, it's either going to be TOP or Super Venturi, both of whom are about 4 points apart, and the TOP are 92 points behind, Super Venturi are 96 points behind. So that's good. Their main focus. They've kept telling us that all season long, isn't it? But inevitably, Jarl Tyen is level in the lead of the Drivers' Championship, and he's right behind Loic Meunier on the grid in 3rd and 4th places, respectively. So that's going to be weighing on his mind as well. And they basically know TOP haven't qualified very well. Jan is on pole, but because of the gap they've got, Super Venturi are going to have a very, very strong race with both cars. Lalu down in 14th on the grid, remember, with Robin Panzar's penalty dropping him down to 20th as well. So that means it's going to be tricky for Super Venturi to really get in this team's title fight. So I agree, Adam Maguire is absolutely going to be in play. I wouldn't be surprised if they order Adam Maguire to maybe run longer in this first stint as sort of to help hold up some of their rivals and sort of become a bit of a annoying fly in the ointment, essentially, while THR maybe do an early undercut or something like that. So, but I think from Jan Graf's point of view, he's got to keep Milnek behind and then just control things from the front. Remember, he did one stop less than everybody else at this race last year, and it basically left him really exposed in that final stint, didn't it? So that will be weighing on his mind. He did seal the championship that day, of course, but he wants to make sure this time he's perfect behind in the points, 12 points behind to be exact. So he's got quite the job to do to get back in the mix in this title race.
Exactly, and it wasn't the cleanest day for him, if you remember that. Just 12 months ago, I've completely forgotten how a year works. Okay, let's take a look at the starting order before we get to the starting grid. We got Jan Grankvist on pole alongside Mathieu Winnick, then Loic Meunier and Jarl Tyen, 2 drivers absolutely dead even on championship points, 3rd and 4th in the standings. Then we've got Adam Maguire and Tom Stevens, Jose Soriano and Jeffrey Fournier. Soriano there making his debut for GPVWC Super League, starting from a very strong 7th position. Tomasz Vok is 9th, then it's Xavi Roos, Alex Lahoe and Carlos Martin. Carlos Martin saying that himself and Shimon went to a party the other day and both of them ended up getting sick, so hopefully he's feeling a little bit better while he's doing this race. Mark Schluter 13th, then Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Stein Handgraf and Sven Schubert, both green stripes in the top 15 I noticed, strong quali from them. Then it's Stefan Rohr, P17, Alessandro Maggio, P18, Riot Kilt, P19 and Robin Panzer with a 10-place grid drop has a lot to do from P20, then Dylan Fisher, Chris Shepherd, Sergio Fletcher, Meyer, and Owen McGorgy, who is standing in for Shimon Frelick today, will go from 24th place on the grid. Now we see Jorge Martinez, Robin Merling, Pascal Pullens and Scott Flack, another one of 2 debutants today. Scott Flack driving all the way from Australia. It must be quite an awkward time for him to get up super early in the morning to do this. Then it's Haigo Poom and Sandeep Singh, who is starting from the pit lane, I see. So Singh will go from the back. So those are your 30 drivers. Keep an eye out for different drivers starting on different tyres as well. It's the 3 softest tyre compounds that are going to be used today, and with Singapore being quite a long race as well. I think we're going to see quite a few pit stops. I'm expecting 2 stops from most of these drivers. 3 stops are definitely a viable option as well. I think if somebody was going to go for a 1 stop, it would have to be a really bold call. And to be honest, I'm not really expecting it to work out, but you never know with GPVWC Super League, and I'm sure that these drivers all have an idea of what they're going to do in their mind, but as soon as the lights go out, that idea goes out of the window, and it is every man for 1 position. Okay, Ed, we're in position. Watch the lights as they come on at the front of the grid. We will have 5 red lights, and when they go out, we will be underway for 62 laps of racing here at the Marina Bay circuit in the Singapore streets. 3, 4, 5, and... it's go. Jan Grankvist leads them away. Now watch as Mathieu Winnick tries to cover off Loic Mounier, and the 2 THRs come through in the background as well. They've already got up the inside of Adam Maguire, who I think will actually hold on to P5 and splits the 2 THRs as he did in quali.
Oh.
And into the wall there goes one of the 2 Adonis cars, Xavi Rose, with a little touch, and he's just behind one of the one of the Edge esports cars. There was a little bit of contact there and hopefully not too much damage. That was a lot like the start of the actual Singapore Grand Prix. Jeffrey Fournier here in 9th position, and just behind, whoa, and over the curbs there goes Stein Handgraf, just about keeping it out of the wall. It's Jose Soriano in the other Green Stripes car, who's a few positions higher, but a good start as well for Handgraf, who's already made up 2 positions. I saw a yellow for, and one of the Epic Racing cars just went straight on there in the background and has presumably ended up in the escape road, and Alessandro Maggio is missing his front wing there in the Valley Esports car.
Yeah, even more bad news for Valet. His teammate Sergio Fletcher is out before the end of the first lap, and that is the 3rd time in the last 4 races that Fletcher has failed to complete the first lap. So that shows you when you qualify down the field, it is so dangerous. You've got to be so careful, and unfortunately, Fletcher has fallen foul yet again, and this is a circuit that he actually really likes as well. So they've got to hope that internet for Maggio holds and that they can get the new front wing on sharpish. But look at Grankvist pulling away from Milnek. You saw Milnek didn't get a great launch off the line and was defending into the first couple of corners. And then I think it was Ross and Laho that had that Piastri-Norris moment, wasn't it? Into sort of turn 3 essentially, where they both went really wide and nearly hit the wall while fighting each other. And as you can see, both of them, I think, on the soft tyre then. So the first hard runner is Ruel, who was all over the back of Handgraf on that opening lap. And look at McGorgy. He's navigated the chaos really well to get up to 15th from, was it 23rd on the grid? So McGorgy, that prowess, it never quite goes away, doesn't it? And of course, he's an FSR world champion. He's got very close to winning races in Super League, and he's a Super Lights champion as well. So as far as plug and play options go, McGorgy is one of the best there is, not to mention being the team owner of TOP, so he's kind of the obvious pick, although I say that I wouldn't be necessarily the obvious pick for my own FS2 team, but nonetheless, speaking of which, we are looking for new drivers. Please drive for us if you're watching this. But anyway, McGorgy continues his pursuit then of Stefan Ruel, who was so unlucky in Mexico, if you remember, Caitlin. He was the first to go for the inters of the lead group. Then immediately the rain stopped. He pit for dries. Then it started raining again. He could not have been more unlucky. And it was a case of even Loic Mounier beat him, because even though he was on the wrong strategy, he stayed out on the dries, he stuck to his guns, whereas a bit of indecisiveness really cost Ruel in the end there. But this time, he's got the harder tyres, he's on the alternate strategy, he's going to try and make that work to his advantage, as Mounier now is starting to chase after Milnek. And this is a crucial moment in the race then, because he's got that crucial buffer to tie. And as Milnek's internet is already acting up, and now he's behind Mounier. So I said it was crucial. I didn't think it'd be quite that crucial. And Mounier is now into P2.
Yeah, that was a little bit sketchy there, and I'm so glad that the game gave a little bit of leniency there to Mathieu Winnick, because it almost looked as if he popped back into existence while still touching the back of Meunier's car. So it's a very good thing that we didn't end up with a big accident there from second place, and I'm very much hoping that that doesn't end up happening again. Singapore can actually be one of the more like bandwidth intensive tracks that there is on the calendar because of the lights. I remember a few years ago there was a big problem in practice where drivers were disconnecting left, right and centre, and there were big concerns about the race going ahead on that particular year. That was around 2019, 2020 time, so it was a little while ago now, but it can still happen where the lights and things make it a little bit harder on your internet and on your computer. And Mathieu Winnick there, through no fault of his own, lost quite a lot of time and of course a position to Loic Meunier at the start of that race there. Now we're going to see a replay of something. I saw a yellow flag happening briefly. We're watching Sergio Fletcher here, and I think it may have been either himself or his teammate Maggio. Oh, and there's Maggio locking up and going into the back of the car in front of him in turn 1, and that's where Maggio lost his front wing. Fletcher then cut across the escape lane.
Oh, he hits Heiko.
He does, and that's just a case of the track narrowing as Fletcher's trying to rejoin. And it was one of the Valley Esports cars that I saw going off in the background, so I apologise to the Epic Racing team, who I might have slightly panicked there. And here we see the odd sight of 2 Valley Esports cars missing their front wings and trying to recover to the pits, and Sergio Fletcher calls it a day before doing so. So a horrendous start there for the Valley Esports teams. Alessandro Maggio has continued and has then hit the wall again. So something's not right there for Maggio, and I think he is now retiring from the race.
Well, he was about to be lapped, so I think that's why he's called it today, because he knew it was going to be just uphill once he saw Grankvist appear in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, a bit strange that he just drove straight into the barriers, but anyway, Alessandro Maggio also out of the race, and he has not scored since he scored that podium back in, was it Canada? He was 3rd position, and since then
he's not finished
or failed to start from every single Grand Prix. It is a tough time to beat Alessandro Maggio. But anyway, the race continues. Jukka-Pekka Lalu's had a trip into the pits, I think, because he's now 40 seconds back, and that may have explained one of the yellow flags. We're going to see another replay, and this is Sandeep Singh, remember, starting from the pit lane, and he is attempting a manoeuvre there on
Flack
and spins.
There we go. It's very, very tight trying to make a move there up the inside, because it's a narrowing corner essentially. So at that speed, I think Flack left him about as much space as he could have. So luckily Sandeep not damaged from that one, able to continue, and on the soft tyre he should still catch up to Flack relatively quickly. I'll tell you what's really interesting here. Meunier, lap before this one, went half a second quicker than Grankvist, and he's gone another 0.3 quicker this lap. Since Milnek sort of had that internet issue that got him out of the way, Meunier's been unleashed here, but Grankvist not going all that quickly. So that definitely tells me he is trying to control the race and not burn through his soft tyres in this early stint.
Okay, 5 laps completed already. Grankvist leads by half a second from Loic Meunier, and then it's Winnick, Tyan, Maguire, Stevens, etc. all in a big DRS train. DRS, of course, was enabled on lap 2, so it's been in effect for a couple of laps now. And here is one of the DRS zones, just heading over the edge of the Anderson Bridge, although quite a short one. You can't really make much of an opportunity through there. You then activate the DRS again on the exit of the little right-hand, right-angled corner. I'm afraid I'm having a few issues with my stream, so if I'm missing anything, I do apologise. Are you seeing the same thing, Ed?
I can still just about see it. I seem to be okay. We'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, anyway, look at Meunier still right behind Grankvist. The last lap there, they were sort of dead leveled there as Tyne has a big twitch into the first couple of corners. So looks like Tyne held on to that one. So hopefully he is going to be able to continue his pursuit of Milnek there. There are a couple of comments in chat saying pray for Maciej Milnek's internet. I guess Maciej is out of the race already, so the internet goodwill has got to switch to Maciej Milnek then. We're going to put all the bandwidth that way. And Simon Frelick says, I don't think the Singapore lights are carried through internet for the participants. I think what he was alluding to what you were correctly alluding to, Caitlin, was when everyone had to turn down the graphics rather than the internet. But anyway, we're very technical commentators, don't worry. As Loic Meunier now in the joint lead of the championship, but with Jarl Tyen right with him, has desperately got to clear Jan Grankvist and take control of not only this race but the championship as well. But Grankvist is fighting with him. He's not going to make this easy for him whatsoever then. So he may be getting DRS, but Meunier is not just going to be allowed through here. There may be 3 DRS zones, but you've got to make use of them correctly. Here we go on the long run into turn 16 and 17. And again, Grankvist has just got a little bit too good of an exit really for Loic Meunier to challenge, as they'll go as close to the wall as they can on the exit of 17 as they go through 18 and 19 to complete yet another lap and start lap 7 then. And Meunier is just looking more and more menacing. As you can tell, the THRs and Adam Maguire getting a little bit frustrated, stuck behind Milnek, who they don't know if his internet is going to be okay. So that might even prevent them from having a smoother time as they would like, really, because they can't even just coast in behind and wait for the DRS because they're worried that Milnek might just disappear and reappear in the middle of their train.
The look at this DRS train. This is becoming a real feature of modern GPWC Super League racing, where drivers just kind of sit in the slipstream waiting for something to happen. It may be that they don't have the speed to pass the driver in front of them. It may be that they're conserving their tyres, their push to pass, that sort of thing. And it may just be that it's quicker to sit in the DRS of another driver. We're watching Sandeep Singh, who has unfortunately now retired from this Grand Prix as well, so that makes it 3 DNFs. And it looks like he is just pulling over to the side of the road, so something has gone wrong there. And 27 of the original 30 cars remain. Something's happened to Carlos Martin now. He's down to 27th place, starting all the way up in 12th. Comes through the final corner, big spin and crunch. That is a big crash into the wall there for Carlos Martin, who ends in a smoky heap with tyres flying everywhere. The wheel tethers have not done a good job there, and we now only have 26 cars left in the race, so commiserations to Carlos Martin there. Back to the front, we're watching this DRS train that I was just talking about, and you can see that rear wing envelope opening up on the back of the cars, keeping them glued to the car in front of them. But you daren't make a move at this point, because if you get it wrong, you can drop even further back down the pack. You can go for one move and end up losing 3.
Yeah, that's indeed the case. You can see Jose Soriano, our Super Lights champion, chasing down the team of last year's Super Light champions, of course. Road to Formula with Thomas Vack at the wheel. That's the same livery, by the way, that they used when Alex Laho sealed the Super Lights title here last year. So, as you see, Laho a bit further down the pack, keeping Handgraf at bay while he tries to chase down Xavi Ross. There he is, getting a bit close to the wall out of turn 9 as they go towards the old Singapore Sling, which is where we saw Sandeep Singh have his little spin earlier on. But yeah, nonetheless, great to see Alex Laho has continued on with the race, considering the noises he was making after qualifying was that he might not continue. But he's just outside the top 10 at the moment, and he's certainly giving Xavi Ross, who has had a few incidents himself in the last couple of rounds, hasn't he? Most notably Mexico, he had that incident with Dylan Fisher that cost him a chance to get a lot of points. He's had another decent start to this race, but he's right behind Mark Schluter, who he collided with somewhat unceremoniously in Mexico whilst he tried to rejoin, which got Xavi, the Spaniard, into a bit of trouble. So if he's going to make a move here, he'll need to be a bit cleaner than that, and Mark Schluter is already turning his attention to Jeffrey Fournier in front of him. So as you say, DRS train in full effect here, so that really plays into the hands of Stefan Ruhl, who stayed just under 7 seconds behind the lead, and he is on the hard compounded tyre with Owen McGorgy right behind him, nipping in his heels. So you've got to say, Stefan Ruhl, his strategy could well get him at least to the front for the start of the next stint.
I was going to say, one of the side products of the leader dictating the pace of the race like this and creating a DRS train like we so often see nowadays is that hard-tired strategies and alternate strategies in general are so much more viable than they otherwise would be. That's why we always like to look for the highest placed driver. Ooh, McGorgy taking a look there. The highest placed driver on a particular compound of tyre. For example, Rural, who is the highest placed hard tyre runner, and McGorgy, who is the highest placed medium tyre runner. Because of course, with the pack being so close as it is, and with these drivers just sitting in that tow as well, they're essentially being towed along, and they've got fresher tyres by the time it all ends up. By the time they all end up in the pit window. So that means, of course, they can run longer and they can benefit from that track position. It's something we've seen working so many times this year, and it's why qualifying hasn't always been representative at all of the final race order. I'm thinking of, say, as Tom Stevens comes into the pits, but yes, I'm thinking of, say, Italy, where the THR drivers benefited massively from starting further back on the grid and getting that tyre choice. And Tom Stevens has come in as early as lap 10. This signals a 3-stop strategy, I would say, for the THR drivers, especially since Stevens has now gone onto those medium tyres. So his job will be to push, catch up again to that DRS train, and then just sit there and wait for everyone else to pit.
Yeah, he's got a 7-second buffer to Scott Flack in front of him, so that could well work if it turns into the undercut being the one to go for. So this has scuppered the plans of Grankvist. He wanted to extend this soft tyre stint for as long as possible, ideally, so that he doesn't have to do more than about 2 stops in this race. But now Stevens has clearly switched, I think, as you say, to potentially a 3-stop by putting the mediums on, unless he's going to do hards in the next stint, then that really puts the pressure on now. So who's going to respond to that? And THR now, they can effectively afford to split the strategies here.
Indeed. So we have Jarl Tyen on our screens now, and Tyen, of course, is Tom Stevens' teammate at THR, so now we've got to wait and see if he follows Tom Stevens in, or if there is a little bit of a split strategy. He does, and so does Adam Maguire, so they both come into the pits here, and despite, of course, being sister teams, FTR and THR, they have separate pit boxes, so no fear of a double stack or anything like that. Maguire, you can see his distinctive 4-leaf clover on his helmet in the Republic of Ireland's colours, and he gets those medium tyres on as well. I was potentially expecting to see a few more drivers going straight onto the hards at this point in the race, trying to run long, but I think Singapore is one of those tracks where you need as much grip as you can get, and Tom Stevens goes through. He has jumped both of them here, so Tom Stevens, who was behind Jarl Tyen, is now ahead of both himself and Adam Maguire, and that is what we refer to as the undercut, Ed.
Indeed it is. So we did see this a couple of times, where it was actually Tyen that was given the undercut a couple of times in Mexico, and Stevens ended up being overtaken by him. No, Stevens overtook him to get back through and, of course, win that race. But it's interesting that nobody else other than THR and FTR have decided to respond to Tom Stevens there. So that tells me these guys are committing to the 2-stop. But if this is the interesting thing, if they're those 3 are the only ones doing it, then they're going to have to overtake a lot of drivers to catch up to these guys.
Indeed. So, and now so they're coming towards the end of another lap, and you see Jan Grankvist absolutely blitzing through that final corner. I am finding it quite interesting that no one else. Okay, Mark Schluter has now responded, so Schluter coming into the pits as well. But I was finding it interesting that nobody else had picked up on what the THR drivers were doing there, because THR, more often than not recently, have got the strategy absolutely right. And in my opinion, if you don't cut off the THRs and make their strategy obsolete, then you're not going to beat them. It's simply how they're winning the races nowadays. It's how they've won the last 4 races. But anyway, Loic Mounier here, 2nd position, sandwiched between the championship leader Grankvist, the hard-charging Maciej Winnick in 3rd position, who will feel that he should be ahead of Loic Mounier. It's always a frustrating thing when you get a little bit of a lag spike like that. I remember one race I did a few years ago, might have been 2019 or 2020. It was a Formula Renault race I did at Silverstone, where I had a little lag spike and it cost me the win. And the fact I still remember that all these years later shows you just how frustrating it can be. But it shouldn't matter too much by the end of this race if Mathieu plays his cards right. He's just got to keep his cool and follow Loic Meunier around for a little bit, see what's going on with the strategy, and then see how he can best take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario, he'd be out of the race, wouldn't he? So to still be in it and be in the top 3 with no real threat from behind now, the THRs and Adam Maguire have pit, he can really just follow at the moment. And he's only lost 1 position, maybe a second, half a second in the overall scheme of the race. Would he have been able to challenge Grankvist and pass him by now? I'm not entirely convinced, because I think it's easier said than done, as Moynier has shown. So, all things considered, it could have been a lot worse for Milnek. But keep looking at those lap times. Tom Stevens, 1 minute 30.3, whereas Grankvist is setting 31.2. So, Stevens is gaining about a second a lap, and he's already cleared Scott Flack, as indeed of the rest of THR and Adam Maguire as well, with Yartan following through as well, 1.4 seconds behind. So if they can clear the pack quickly and pick them off one by one, they might have a chance. But next up, they've got Poom, Pollens and Marquez all together, so that could be a tougher nut to crack.
Yeah, Stevens' laps are much quicker than the leading bunch. You would expect that, but I think that's something we should really keep an eye on here, because it shows you just how competitive the undercut could end up being. Mark Schluter here has got a little bit stuck behind Scott Flack. He would have hoped to have come out ahead of him, but he's going to have to fight his way through on the road now. Scott Flack doing a good job to carry on his Super League debut. Like I said before, of all the tracks I'd want to make my debut on, I think Singapore would probably be at the very bottom of that list. But Schluter does go through. Meanwhile, Jose Soriano, I think, is in the pits now. Indeed he is. So Soriano, the other debutant from today's race, pitting relatively early. And the likes of Fournier, Roos, Lahou, Hangraf all going through. Stein Hangraf up to 8th position now, Fournier up to 5th. Fournier said to me that he expected to qualify about 14th, 15th in this race. I think he ended up qualifying about 11th, if I remember correctly. So he's done a good job there. And out of the pits, just about behind that Edge Esports car of Mark Schluter. Very close though, very closely run. And if Schluter had taken any longer to get past Scott Flack, then that would have changed completely.
Yeah, I thought Soriano got very close to the wall on the inside as he turned left out of the pits there. So he had a bit of trouble with on those cold tyres, just immediately coming out of the pits there. But don't think that quite made the difference there. It was Schluter, as you say, getting through when he did. Then he held on to track position here. But now Soriano, not far behind our THR Adam Maguire trio. And he's got fresher tyres than anybody in front of him. So the more that pit in front, the better it is for Tom Stevens and the Alpine then. But at the moment, none of our top 3 are bitten, and it doesn't look like Vac, Fournier or Ross are coming in anytime soon either.
Now, in most GPWC Super League Grand Prix, we're talking about drivers going for it.
I stand corrected. In comes Ross.
Yeah, and Hangraf from behind him as well. But in most Grand Prix, we're talking about the two-stoppers, and then there's 1 or 2 drivers who go for a bold one-stop strategy, and they somehow seem to always end up winning the race. So I'm wondering if we're just going to get the same, but with 3 stops and 2 stops in the space of 2 stops and 1 stops today. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
I think so, because if you think back to a year ago, Grankvist looked to be on the same strategy as everybody else. As we see, is Scott Flack going to get past Stein Hangraf? No, he isn't. So Flack, unfortunately, and he made his debut last year here in FS1 as well. So he seems to have made a bit of an unintentional habit of stepping up a gear in Singapore to a new category. Then as we see, Stevens trying to go around the outside of Pascal Pollens. Is he going to make it through there? Yes, he is. That was very, very bold there. And Pollens knew he would have to give way there. But now, crucially, Jarl Tyen is going to be held up in these next couple of corners by the AG Sports driver then. So, yeah, Stevens making progress. And remember that move he made on Grankvist here last year as well. Stevens has made a bit of a specialism of these sort of unusual round the outside overtakes. And we just saw another classic example there.
Yeah, Pascal was not making that easy for him whatsoever. And that seems to be playing a little bit more into the hands of Mark Schluter, who you can see getting closer in the background, as now Tyen does go for a move, gets up the inside and gets the position made. Very nicely done. Schluter felt a bit aggrieved last time out in that collision with Xavi Rose. He felt that if that had not happened, and that was very close with Adam Maguire, but yeah, he felt that if that had not happened, then he would have been on the podium, because he was following the two THRs and sticking with them. And now he's following the two THRs once again, just a little way back as they fight with his teammate Pascal Pollens. Maguire goes through as well. It took him a little while, it took him a few corners, but I imagine the next move, Schluter on Pollens, will be surprisingly easy.
Yeah, and now Stevens right behind Poom and Marquinez. Remember, Marquinez is Loic Monier's teammate, and he makes the move on Hygo Poom, if anything, to avoid being overtaken by Stevens there. Stevens out being held up by the pair of them. That is not ideal. Bit of contact made with Hygo Poom there, and this is critical for THR's race. They cannot afford to lose time here. Up the inside goes Tom Stevens. A little bit of push to pass employed there, I think, and he splits the pair of them there. So Tom Stevens is not going to be held up or denied by anybody that gets in his way.
Yeah, Stevens did a good job there. It looked as if Poom was going to cover him off, so he lifted off the throttle, got the switch back, got on the power really early, and then got underneath that Ekie hero car, and Tyen now is going to get underneath it as well. Meanwhile,
Moinier takes the lead.
And Grankvist is in the pits, so Grankvist pits from the lead of the race, and it was only a matter of time, and Geoffrey Fournier is following him as well. So now we see just how important that undercut was. How close have the THR cars got to Jan Grankvist? Have they been held up too much in traffic, or were their superior lap times able to get them closer? Keep an eye on the pit exit. The blue light flashing means there are cars coming through. Tom Stevens is on the outside. Tom Stevens goes through. And they've all jumped him. Stevens, Tyen and Maguire have all got past Jan Grankvist. Schluter is just behind him, and that means that Tom Stevens could be in the net lead of the race. But you have to remember, there could also be a different number of pit stops at play here.
Yeah, and remember, Grankvist has got tyres that are 8 laps fresher as well. As we see, bit of movement in the background as Xavi Ross desperately tries to get past. Soriano has to go wide into the runoff there, and Xavi Ross is able to get past the green stripes as a result. So Soriano pitted early, but now he's starting to feel a little bit of the pain of that as Ross and Fournier pick him off.
But this is why I'm surprised that more people don't copy what THR are doing, because we see this so often, and now they've got track position. And yes, they've got 7-lap older tyres, but we've seen that Stevens and Tyen are more than good enough to hold their own, even with 8-lap older tyres. If I was, if I was a driver like, and Mounier's coming to the pits now as well from the lead of the race, so Mathieu Winnick will take over the lead. But yes, if I was a driver like Mounier or Grankvist or someone who's sitting just in front of the THRs, the second they pull into the pits, I'm going to be thinking, right, I'm pitting next lap around. If I can put in the lap of my dreams here on this in-lap, I can stay ahead. And I'm surprised that more people don't do that, because then they end up behind the THRs, who end up just holding everybody up and winning the race.
Oh, and look at this. Moinier could get out a bit further in the queue as he gets out side by side with his teammate Markinev. And Moinier now is just in front of Jarl Tyen, crucially. So that's absolutely critical for the championship as Markinev makes way for both of them. And nearly makes contact with Jarl Tyen. Does make contact through turn 4 there. And now it's Adam Maguire's turn to get through. Look at Markinev using the DRS to try and get back around the outside. That is a bit cheeky, but he's going to leave himself exposed. Maguire goes through, and surely Jan Grankvist is going to fancy a piece of this action as well.
Yep, Grankvist absolutely does. He's going to get to the outside now of Jorge Marquinez, and he's going to drive right on the outside of it. Yeah, Grankvist is up in the air. The front of that car is destroyed, and he's going to have to make yet another pit stop. And Jan Grankvist, who looked set to win the race,
he's
is out. He is out of the race through no fault of his own. He got absolutely squeezed into that barrier, and that's the risk you take when you go round the outside of a slower driver, and that is absolutely gutting news for a driver who still stood a very good chance of the World Championship. We're going to see it now from on board with Jan Grankvist. Well, this is the part where he gives up, but he'd already had the accident. He was already going to be out of contention, and I think we're going to see that in just a moment. But yeah, absolutely gutting there for Jan Grankvist. And my first, well, here we go. So he's on the outside. Now Marquez doesn't want to give him any room because they are technically fighting for track position. Not to mention that Marquez is Meunier's teammate. They just lock wheels. That's also unfortunate for Marquez because I think he wanted to give Grankvist a bit more room than that, but he was just a little too late in doing so, and they ended up locking wheels. And then Grankvist ended up riding the back of that car all the way to the scene of another accident. He saw that his suspension was too damaged to continue, and that is the end of the day.
Yeah, a bitter disappointment for Jan, and that could well be his chance at the championship. He was 12 points behind going in. That could be his chance of retaining his driver's title, slipping through his fingers there. So he is definitely going to be ruining Jorge Marquez, defending as hard as he was there. But yeah, the locking the wheels, I agree, it wasn't an intentional move or anything. Meanwhile, Mathieu Milnek has picked from the lead and come out right behind Loic Meunier in that neat little bit of track that Grankvist himself would have been hoping to occupy then. So those who ran a bit longer have at least been able to keep Jarl Tyne and Adam Maguire at bay here. So this is looking very, very good for Loic Meunier and indeed for Mathieu Milnek, as in comes McGorgy on the hard compounder tyre. So even he can't stretch from that far. Ruhl and Panzar now take the lead. Panzar still on the same set of soft tyres he started the race on.
Yeah, so McGorky was actually on the medium tyres. He was the top driver on the medium compound. Ruhl goes through to lead on the hard tyres, and McGorky now also changes onto a set of hards to rejoin the race. Ruhl and Panzar having a little battle of their own out there. Now for Meunier, the important thing for himself is that he's come out ahead of Jarl Tyne. He was always going to be jumped by Tom Stevens and Loic Meunier there. He was always going to come out behind them because he was behind Loic Meunier anyway. But the fact he's come out ahead of Jarl Tyne really saves him a lot of grief in this race. I noticed Jesse Lahtinen just now saying that if you copy the THRs and just do what they're doing but a lap later, you're going to get screwed over anyway. But not if you're already ahead of them. If you're ahead of them, you can react to that stuff with enough of a gap to cover it off. Say you're 1 second ahead of them, they make a pit stop, you lose half a second to them on that lap, you still come out half a second ahead. And I think that's the importance of covering off what those drivers are doing. Here's Loic Meunier now, just behind Tom Stevens, and into the DRS zone for that all-important dose of DRS that we've been talking about all day long. And I've noticed as well, Jan Grankvist has dropped into the YouTube chat, and he is absolutely livid, and so he should be, because that is one of the most unbelievable ends to a particular driver's race that I've seen in a little while. And I am not surprised at all that he is not just gutted but pretty angry as well. And I have to admit, I do not think that was Jan Grankvist's fault in any way, shape or form.
Well, Panzar now pits from P2, so the softs could not do more than 20 laps then. So that is a key. And yeah, that last lap for Panzar was a little bit slow to begin with, even accounting for him slowing down for the pit entry as he comes out just outside the points, I think, in P16. Or no, he is. Yeah, he's going to be in P17 behind the two red archers of Shepherd and Kilk then, who were two of the early pitters. So yeah, the field buildering out then. I think in terms of Super Venturi pitting Grankvist when they did, because you saw he very, very nearly got undercut by Schluter as well. So I think the logic there, they didn't know how the pack up front was going to be slowed down a little bit by some of the mid-pack on the harder tyres. So Stevens was able to clear it most effectively, which is why he's sort of in the net lead at the moment, but he's only 7/10 ahead of Meunier, and then Milnek has been touching distance as well, albeit with the internet, we're not quite sure what it's going to do there. So Ruhl will be the interesting one because he's about 8 seconds ahead of them. The hards are holding up pretty well then. Is he going to try and one-stop it? Surely he's going to have to two-stop like some of the others are then.
David Fidog just messaging me again saying, watch Loic and Tom. They are so close together on track, and that is indeed a very important little scrap. Of course, Mounier has much fresher tyres than Tom has, and he's using them to not just stick with him, but to get ever so slightly closer as well. But I think this one's going to be important in the second pit window. Keep an eye on what happens when we get to there. Are they on the same compound of tyre? I'm trying to spot what Tom Stevens...
Stevens is on the mediums, isn't he?
So, yes,
Yeah.
they're actually on different tyre compounds here, which means that Mounier, as well as having newer tyres, also has a harder compound of tyre, a more rigid tyre, as it were. So Stevens has the track position, but if I was in either of their shoes right now, I would probably want to be in the position of Loic Mounier. We'll just have to wait and see, because there is at least one more pit window to come as the race progresses, and I think that that's going to really show us how the rest of the race is going to shape up, Ed.
Indeed it is. Oh, Magurgi, by the way, is starting to close on Thomas Vack, and he set a 1:30.6 there, which is his personal best lap of the race. That shows you just how much he was saving in that first stint on the medium tyre. Now he's got the hards on. This is a crucial stint for TOP to keep their team's championship hopes alive, because all rests with Owen now, with Carlos having crashed out at the final corner, although Owen at the Anderson Bridge got very, very close to doing the same thing there, and that shows you really have to be on the limit, especially when you're down in 14th place and you need to somehow sneak into the top 10 to get a decent result here. So TOP very much up against it, but Magorgi is not the giving up kind. So luckily for him, if there's a bit more attrition, there could be something in this race for them. But meanwhile, as you say, Mounier stuck right behind Tom Stevens, and all this time, Mathieu Milnek, Yartan and Adam Maguire could well close in if Stevens starts controlling the pace here on those mediums.
So, Mathieu Milnek, I said that he came out just in front of Jarl Tyen, and you can see that this is becoming more of an important scrap as we go on, because Stevens and Mounier are having their own battle, and they're actually pulling away slightly from Winnick and Tyen. If Tyen has more pace to use, and he's not being able to use it behind Winnick, then this is going to be an important battle in his own race. He's got to get past him. Then again, Winnick is not dropping back at too much of a rate of knots, and he's also on those hard tyres. I think he's probably thinking about Stevens at this point in time, and just seeing how he can conserve his race for when he ends up coming closer to Tom later on. You can see Adam Maguire in the background as well. He's just got to bide his time there. He's not particularly important in this battle just yet. I think he's got to be opportunist if anything happens. And you see that lovely backwards shot going over the Anderson Bridge up the straight as the cars snake into view out of the hairpin, one at a time. It's a very busy track in GPVWC Super League. I know it's quite a long circuit here at Marina Bay, but with 26 cars on track and most of them all in close proximity, it can get pretty busy out there. Stefan Roll now pits, so Stevens is back to the lead in his battle with Loic Mounier, and Roll, after a very long early stint, is pretty committed to a two-stop strategy, I'd say, and he will exit the pits just outside of the top 15.
Yeah, I suspect Roll will be putting on mediums for this next stint then, as Mounier continuing to shadow Tom Stevens, 2/10 quicker that previous lap. Milnek, though, 1:30.9. He's really having to push to keep Jarl Tyen at bay. And you saw how close when we were on board with Milnek. He was just flirting with the walls at every other corner, it felt like. It was very, very you couldn't keep your eyes off it, really. It was riveting stuff, as it tends to be at Singapore when everyone's pushing to the limits, but also trying to make sure that they can keep these tyres in decent nick at the final stages of the race, or their stint, or if not the race itself, depending on how long they're running and what phase we're at, as Owen Magorgi continues to set personal bests down in 13th position. He's clear Panzer, of course. He's got Vac right in front of him, so the battle very much joined down there.
Now, there's an interesting discussion going on in the YouTube chat, which is very much what we've been speculating about. Jan Grankvist saying, I was going for a chill 2-stop, by the way. THR, by the looks of it, might be 3-stopping, and that is also what we were suggesting, especially when Tom Stevens made his stop at the start. Sergio Fletcher as well saying, if they're 3-stopping, they should be gapping Loic already, and they aren't. That is also a very good point. I think THR have a couple of different options now, especially Tom Stevens have 2 real options. They could either stick with their 3-stop strategy, try to gap Loic when they have the advantage of the fresher tyres, that sort of thing, and really push. It would probably mean making quite a few overtakes on track and overtaking quite a few cars that very much don't want to be overtaken, like Winnick and Mounier. But of course, they could also attempt to extend these stints further than they feel comfortable to make it into a 2-stop strategy. That is something that they have done before, THR, which is starting the race with one strategy and then adapting it as they go along to make it work for them. I personally can see it going either way at this point, but I would say that Tom will be enjoying the track position that he has. If he can stay ahead of Mounier for a while, I think that will cement his decision to stay out. If Mounier gets through, I think he's got to start thinking slightly differently, and that would really force his hand. So if I was Loic, I wouldn't be content just to sit behind him here. I'd want to try to force his hand, try to make him think about other strategies.
I wonder if there's a bit of THR have seen what happened to Grankvist and Jorge Martinez, and they're thinking, right, Loic's teammate has unintentionally taken out Jan Grankvist. Can we at least hold up Loic Mounier at this phase of the race? I don't think Loic will be worried about being taken out by Tom Stevens because he's had a lot of close battles. I think of Hungary and Stevens going around the outside at turn 4 and Loic giving just enough space to make that happen. But here we go. Yep. Stevens having to weave just to keep Loic Mounier at bay then as they go down towards turn 7 and Memorial Corner. And again, Loic Mounier is not quite close enough. So you can see Milnek just about, he's not in DRS of Mounier, but he is just about keeping them all in sight, a 10th quicker the previous lap here. So Mounier, I agree, he will be desperately trying to look for a way through here because we don't know if it's guaranteed, as you say, that THR will have to do an extra stop at this point. So he's got the tyre advantage. Whether that's going to last and whether he can make use of it remains to be seen. He really needs those mediums to sort of drop off a cliff at a certain point, and infamously it tends not to happen with Tom Stevens.
That is true, but he can't get too desperate because, strategically speaking, he is in a better position. And a lot of people in the chat right now are agreeing with that. Jan Grankvist saying Loic has the advantage staying in DRS. And that's exactly right. Because Tom Stevens, he can slow Loic up as much as he's physically able to. And now he comes into the pits. I was going to say, but if Loic gets past, then he's got a whole different kettle of fish to fry. But Tom Stevens now slows it down and comes into the pit lane. He is surely committing to the 3-stop at this point. And at this point in the race, my money would have to be on Loic Mounier, Ed. But watch what Tom can do from here to the end. Tom Stevens is one of the fastest, one of the best drivers in GPVWC Super League, and even though he's now down in 19th position, you cannot count him out for anything.
Well, he's the first to pit in this phase of the race as he does his second stop, puts another set of mediums on, so you would expect a third set of mediums would be going on at his third stop to get him to the end then. So again, THR going aggressive really, and against Loic Mounier, that's sort of what they've got to do. It's sort of frustrating for them that they've got Tyne still stuck behind Milnek because that prevents him really fighting Mounier. So THR will have to do something clever on the strategy. Potentially Milnek is pit lane bound quite soon as well, and you would expect Adam Maguire to follow not far behind as well. I feel a bit for Maguire because his role in this race seems to be push Jarl Tyne along, make sure he doesn't get too sloppy here, rather than attacking and fighting for the win himself. So I'm sure as long as he's getting screen time, I disagree with you when you said Adam Maguire's not important just yet. I think as far as Adam Maguire's concerned, he is the most important driver in the race, which is sort of what everybody's got to think, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, from our point of view, you're right. He is sort of keeping his powder dry at this point and waiting for opportunities to emerge, as they tend to do at Singapore. You think of last year, where it was Tyne and Grankvist coming together, which opened the door for him to win, wasn't it, in that late phase? Whereas, now Grankvist's already out the picture, so it'll have to be somebody else that Tyne runs into if Maguire's going to win this one. As in comes Schluter. So Schluter is following Stevens on the strategy here, but Tyne and Maguire stay out. So that is interesting. So Schluter's in for an undercut here, and that could force THR to take action.
Yeah, there were a lot of people in the chat surprised that Stevens only ran 17 laps on the medium tyres. Schluter has actually run even fewer. I don't have the exact number, but he did pit after the THRs in the first place, and he's come out just behind his teammate Pascal Pollens, who once again will not make it too difficult for him. I do find it interesting how Stevens actually came out behind Stefan Ruhl, who, don't forget, led the race for a little bit on those hard tyres and then made that pit stop, because they should both be due one more pit stop in this race, and that shows you the advantage of track position as well, because yes, Stefan Ruhl was on the slower tyres at the start and he was a long way down the order, but by sticking with the order, I think he's really brought himself into contention for a strong result here. And I think that's just a byproduct of the type of racing that happens in GPVWC Super League nowadays, where we have these long DRS trains and the leader dictating the pace right the way from the start, because it does bring people who get that free tyre choice right into contention, as Dylan Fisher there goes for a move on Sven Schubert, gets through into 15th. Dylan Fisher, who doesn't have too many good memories of Singapore that I'm aware of. Of course, ended up on his lid last year on the Anderson Bridge, but now up into the points-paying positions.
Yeah, I remember he took that pole at Monza, and he was looking pretty solid in Mexico, so he didn't have a great qualifying here today at Singapore. I agree, this is definitely a tougher track for Dylan Fisher in terms of his GPV history, but he is fighting on. He is not far off that final points-paying position, so I think if AK Hero can find a way to sneak him in, and Fisher's being the most aggressive of anybody, he did 19 laps, I think, on the hards, and has now switched to the soft tire, which he's done 9 laps on, so he's getting to the end of his soft stint. So yeah, it's definitely an aggressive free stop that it looks like AK Hero are giving it a go. I agree with what you're saying about Ruhl, because even now he's caught up to the traffic of Schubert, as much as Schubert may try and hold him up to help out Tom Stevens. Ruhl's going to be tough to pass because he's only pit 4 laps earlier than Tom Stevens here, so that could be a real spanner in the works. HRT have done well to pit Ruhl out into a clean bit of track that you can sort of undercut the THRs and sort of force their hands a little bit. So that makes me even more certain that Tyne and Maguire are going to try and stretch this stint out much longer than Stevens did.
Okay, well, let's keep an eye on him. So Jarl Tyne, the other THR driver, they may be splitting their strategy a little, like we suggested they would early on. And third position is where he is on the track at the minute. You can see he's much closer now to Loic Mounier than so himself and Winnick have both got much closer to Loic Mounier than they were before Tom Stevens came into the pits there.
Fastest lap for Stevens, 1:29.8.
Yeah.
So he's about a second and a bit faster than a lot of these guys.
No surprise there, really. Jan Grankvist saying the hard tyres are not good on this track. That's interesting, since we've seen quite a few people using them, such as Loic Mounier, who is leading the race now, and Mathieu Winnick, who is second. But I very much trust Jan Grankvist there. He said he did a soft, medium, soft stint at one point, or a race length, and I entirely believe that that's possible. I don't know whether it's necessarily the quickest way of doing it, but I did also notice right from the start that a lot of people were going onto the medium tyres. It may just be that the soft tyres are soft enough to give you enough of a pace advantage to counteract the pace loss of the hard tyres. But anyway,
I can tell you a fight that I'm really enjoying, by the way. Leho versus Soriano. So we've got the reigning Superleague champion versus the newly crowned. I guess he's not reigning anymore, is Alex Leho, because Soriano's taken the title off him side by side. And that is Soriano trying to get through and unable to do so, as we see Tyne and Maguire diving into the pits at the same time. So that is going to put them out of third and fourth and potentially behind Stevens and Schluter.
Okay, Tyan and Maguire both pitting on the same lap, just as they did in the first pit window, and Tom Stevens will go through just as he did in the first pit window. In fact, his gap is going to increase, and we're not surprised about that, considering the laps that he put in.
Oh, there's Schluter. Schluter jumps Maguire.
Schluter split them now. He's jumped Maguire and he's split Maguire and Tyan. Is Tyan on soft tyres? It looked as if they were the red wool tyres there.
He is.
Okay, well, I mean that's normally just a qualifying tyre, but
Gorgie in trouble.
See it working, especially if hard tyres are so difficult to use. And you're right, yellow flags were out, and McGorky is losing a lot of time here, a lot of positions, and I think something is going on there to the TOP esports car.
Ooh,
and it's hit the wall and it's lost its rear wing, and that means that TOP will come away from this race with 0 points because both of them have now retired in completely separate accidents, and we're going to see a replay of what's just taken place. He's already gone into the escape road, so something's already taken place.
He was right behind Soriano before this happened, wasn't he?
And he tried to continue, but you've got absolutely no control without a rear wing on this thing. It's much easier to get back to the pits without a front wing than it is to get back without a rear wing. Oh, he's been run into. Look at this. He's been run into from behind by an Adonis car. Now, which Adonis car was he running in front of?
Oh, please don't tell me that was Panzer. I think it was Panzer. Oh no, second race in a row that he's just clonked into the back of someone. Last time it was Kilk. So there we go, they get past Soriano and then just late on the brakes. It says don't send it on the back of the TOP, and I think Robin Panzer needs to go back to Specsavers because he didn't read that on properly.
Yeah, I won't be quite as savage towards him, but I do think that might be another penalty incoming. Usually when you run into the back of someone else, it's a clear-cut penalty, but anyway, unfortunately, that has taken Owen McGorky out of what might be his only Super League start of the season. It's definitely his first Super League start of the year, and what a disappointing way for that one to end. We hype up these star drivers so much, and then it all just kind of fizzles out like that sometimes. And it can't have been a cheap contract for McGorky there. We saw Moritz Kropp was in the YouTube chat earlier talking about Adam Maguire's emergency contract and how it cost him basically double what a base salary would be for a normal driver on a normal season. But of course,
something happened to Soriano.
Champion.
Because Rutt and Panzer both got past him that lap, and now Tom Stevens fancies to go, so I think that Green Stripes might be in a little bit of difficulty, and he backs right off to let Stevens through at turn 14, Conot.
Okay, well, we try to get a replay of that if something did happen to him. Jose Soriano running 12th now, just in front of Sven Schubert, and you're right, he was a long way ahead of Sven Schubert last time I noticed. And I don't think he's just been into the pits, but anyway.
Yeah, it could be that there was more contact with Panzer that we didn't see maybe after the McGorgy incident, but yeah, either way, that's a shame for him that he's dropping a little bit outside the top 10, but he's just got the handle of it now. I wonder if there might be a little bit of steering damage. Oh, as the Green Stripes tries to get away from him. He's had such a strong race so far. Look at the steering wheel as he gets down the straight. Is it? No, it's actually straight. Okay, so it's not as big an issue as I feared as Heiko Poom goes into the pits and falls to 21st as here comes Schubert up the inside and into 12th place he goes. As you can see, Jarl Tyne on the softs rapidly catching up to them, and Adam Maguire behind on the mediums has set the fastest lap of the race, about half a second quicker than Jarl Tyne as well. So Maguire starting to up his game here. Now he's cleared Mark Schluter.
Maguire P15 chasing down Jarl Tyne, who's now past the seemingly fading Jose Soriano for that 13th position. Loic Mounier continues to lead on those hard tyres. Winnick is sticking with him, but both of them will have a problem, because when they make this pit stop, they could well end up being jumped by some of those drivers who pitted earlier on.
Oh, Stevens is stuck behind Panzer at the moment. He's lapping in the 130.9s, whereas Moynier and Milnek are 130.7, 130.6. So actually, this has worked out well, although Stevens has just passed Robin Panzer into turn 16 there. So there we go. Just as I say Stevens is being held up, he immediately finds a way through, as Tom Stevens is wont to do. And now right in front of him has got to get a move on here, because he's got an immediate threat to his own race right behind him. And he's got Shepard, who's made good progress here, holding him up.
Adam Maguire set the fastest lap of the race that last time around. It's just updated with another lap that wasn't the fastest one of the race, but he is in a little bit of traffic. But anyway, It's clear that fresh tyres give you a massive advantage here. That's why we've seen so many undercuts. Stefan Rolt there goes for a move on Chris Shepherd and makes it work. And he's going to be followed through by Tom Stevens in just a minute. Stefan Rolt, we haven't really seen that much of in this race because he's been doing his own separate thing. But mark my words, he's going to be important in this one by the end of it. Chris Shepherd being a little bit of a pick in the order at this point in time, separating Rolt from Stevens and Pansar and other drivers behind. And Stevens will line him up coming out of the Anderson Bridge. You see him sliding about as Shepherd. And Stevens with the DRS will go through sooner rather than later. Up the inside, that's definitely one of the few overtaking opportunities on this lap that you will attempt pretty much every time. Stevens does go up the inside and goes through. Loic Meunier continuing to lead, and what I was going to say earlier is I've been watching his lap times and they're still pretty decent. They're not the, you know, the 129s that we're seeing from the drivers on fresh tyres, and they're not even in the low 130s, but high 130s are still reasonable. There's still, you know, there's still plenty of drivers out there in the 131s, even 132s. Loic Meunier here is not losing too much time to them, and I think that while he's far from the fastest driver on track, he will be thinking right now about just making one less pit stop than the likes of Stevens and other drivers around him. I think he will come out behind Tom Stevens, but that won't matter too much to him if he's played his cards right.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see what Rolt does as well, because he's sort of converged onto Stevens' strategy, the way things have filtered out here a little bit, as Yartan sets the fastest first sector of the race on those softs as he tries to chase down Robin Panzer, who's had to let Stevens through, and he's certainly had his own fair share of adventures today, hasn't Robin? So Yartan will be keen to clear him as quickly as possible. Some interesting developments. I think you're right that Moynier and Milnek are both doing a pretty strong job up front on the hard tyre, and they build up a 6-second buffer to Jeffrey Fournier behind them as well, who's got Xavi Ross for company, former teammate of course at Epic Racing. So it'll be interesting to see how the other Adonis of Xavi's, we're about to see his teammate Robin passed by Yartan down the straight before they even get to the braking zone. Tyre is through, such as his electric pace on that soft tyre, and he's got to make the most of it because it's going to be a short stint. He only did 10 laps on the soft at the beginning of the race. I wonder if Yartan might be putting mediums on at the next stop and trying to get to the end.
Yep, I think that's entirely possible. We're about halfway through the race, believe it or not. It's been a long half a race. The second part, I'm sure, will absolutely fly by, but that always is the way. Mathieu Munich here, sticking with Loic Meunier. These two drivers on a very similar strategy, and should, if not too much else changes, they should finish quite close together as well. Although obviously with half a race still to go, it's hard to say something with something as bold as that with absolute certainty. Over the Anderson Bridge they go once again, and
Milnek pit a lap later.
Back across the bridge, yep.
So his tyres will be slightly in better condition then. I wonder though if there's a temptation to go for the undercut if they are committing to the two-stop here, so which they seem to have done, which will be fascinating. The other thing that's interesting to keep track of is Stevens and Ruhr are both caught up to Thomas Vack now, who's in 6th position. So the road to formulas, they're going to be tougher nuts to crack. They've done 18 and 20 laps respectively on their hard tyres. But they're going to be big roadblocks, and Ruhr and Stevens could find themselves being backed into Jarl Tyne, who is catching them at a vast rate of knots now. 8/10 quicker than Stevens was Tyne the previous lap.
Jarl Tyne has set the fastest lap of the race, which is now a lap record, which was previously held by Fabio Sixter last season. Of course, these may not necessarily have been lap records if... ooh, that was close. If we'd been running the layout that has been used in Singapore for many years, but a couple of years ago the layout was changed slightly to remove one of the chicanes. So we haven't really had that many seasons of racing here, but even so, this is technically a lap record, whoever gets the fastest lap today. Stefan Rolt now is under pressure from the THRs, Tom Stevens and Jarl Tyne both filling up his mirrors now, and Tyne also getting much closer to Stevens, which will raise some questions later on in this race, and we'll answer those when we get to them. These two drivers who are absolutely on the top of their form, and both of whom still are within within reach of the championship. One of them obviously quite a lot more within reach than the other, but anything's possible. And now they've just got to get past that HRT car of Stefan Roth.
So let's ask one of those questions now, Caitlin. THR are going to win the team's championship because TOPs are both out of this race. That was their closest competitor. Super Venturi, Grangfist is out, and Lalu, with the best will in the world, is not really making too much progress up the order from 23rd. So Lalu, best case scenario. And there we go, they swap over. So Tom Stevens, knowing Yartan's on the fresher and indeed the softer compounded tyre, has got the better chance of passing Stefan Roth at this phase of the race. So Stevens, pragmatic, and putting the team first, that could really pay off for Yartan here. So there we go, my question is immediately answered.
Fascinating. That is one of the questions that I was going to ask, but I didn't expect it to happen quite so soon. To be honest, I was expecting Tom Stevens to pass Stefan Roth and then have to think about what to do about Yartain in the future. But we've heard from THR in the past.
Oh, Jarl looking very close.
Yeah, Tyne's going to go through on the inside here. He's going to get the DRS open, and they nearly rub wheels into the corner, but he does go through. And now Tom Stevens taking a little look as well. But yeah, we've heard from THR in the past that they're very much a team-based team. There's no number one driver there, but if one driver has a better chance of making an overtake, they will swap, give that driver the chance to stretch their legs, that sort of thing. And at the end of the day, so long as the THR wins, I'm not sure they really mind that much who it is. I'm sure the drivers secretly would want to win, but hey, they both know that they're part of a team as well. And the fact that they're going to win the team's championship today, I think, is very fitting. But then, of course, the question becomes, what next? What happens if, for example, Tom Stevens goes into the final round still in contention for the championship? I think we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh, he's going around the outside.
That's a very bold place. He came together with Mark Schluter here last year. Now he's up the inside of Stefan Roth, and he will make that move stick. There was a little bit of wheel rubbing. Hopefully no damage. And we're going 3 wide on the straight now as well, as Panzer and Maguire both go through. Maguire's going to overtake both of them. Fantastic move there from Adam Maguire to keep up with his two sister team cars there. Tom Stevens.
Oh, Tyne hits the wall!
My goodness, Tyne did brush up against the wall there into turn 4, and now he's going to go for a move on Tomasz Vok after nearly ending his race, and he put a lot of trust in the barriers there that there weren't any sticky outy bits, and he does go through into 5th position.
Critical then for Jarl Tyne, and horrible sequence of events for Roth, because he did well to leave Stevens space, but that left him exposed to first Panzer and then Maguire, who opportunistically went for the 2-for-1 special offer there on the pair of them. So yeah, Adam Maguire up to P8 and right behind Stevens now, so that keeps him very solidly in the mix. So one road to Formula dispense with. Now it's Alex Lahoe. How much fight is he going to put up for Jarl Tyne here? Because him and Loic Moynier, fellow Frenchman, you think Alex Lahoe's not going to make it too easy. I mean, Vac already put up a bit of a fight. Up the inside into 14 comes Jarl Tyne. Little bit of contact, but only slight. And Alex Lahoe has to tuck in behind then as Stevens is lining up Vac, his teammate, in the background. He's going to try and go around the outside into turn 15 and 16. There we go. Just enough space left. So the THR's making good progress, and Vac is heading for the pits, as is Jeffrey Fournier.
Yeah, it's Lahoe who's coming to the pits there, and as you said,
Maguire around the outside. Another move.
Maguire does also dispense of Tomasz Vok down that start-finish straight. Very nicely done. And we wait to see what tyres Fournier and Lahoe go on to and what strategy they're on. But yeah, that was a lovely little scrap there between the two Road to Formula cars and the two THR cars on different strategies. The Road to Formulas, well, they were fighting as if they were properly in contention for the same bit of racetrack. It was also nice and respectful. There was a little bit of rubbing, but nothing untoward. They weren't forcing each other off the road. I was a little bit worried about the move that went on between, I think it was Lahoe and Stevens, although to be honest, so much happened that I've already forgotten who was involved in that. But yeah, very glad to see they've all made it out of that in one piece, and now the intensity will just die down a tiny bit as the Road to Formula cars make their pit stops.
But crucially, Tyne's got some clear air now in which to set decent lap times on the soft, so that will keep him able to just about keep the pressure up, but he is 14 seconds behind, so he's not exactly taking chunks out of our two leaders here, so the softs will start to fade before too long, and I wonder if that's what Mounier and Milnek have got to rely on at this phase.
Okay, so Yartayan, we will keep an eye on his lap times. Tom Stevens, I'm also
3/10 quicker. 3/10 quicker that last lap was Yartayan than our two leaders.
3/10. To be honest, I was expecting him to be even quicker than that. But then again, he was making those over. I think he had to make.
He was.
On that lap,
Sorry, because that was a lap earlier. I forgot because he's now only 12.5 seconds behind. He set a 1:29.4 that last lap, which was about a second and a half quicker. As we see Xavi Ross, who's pit not long ago, setting a 1:28.8. So he's been those mediums for about 2 laps, hasn't he? And he is flying out there.
Blistering lap there from Xavi Ross. That's the fastest lap of this circuit and the first ever lap of this circuit under 1:29 in race conditions. And he carries on his merry way. I'm expecting to see at least a top 10 finish from Xavi Ross by the end of this one, and maybe even in the top 5 if things continue to play out his way. He'll need a little bit of uncoordinatedness up in front of him. But here we've got Tom Stevens, Adam Maguire right behind him. And another thing I'm interested in here is that does Tom now feel that there's a little bit of a debt owed to him now that Yartayan's gone through so easily? If they, for example, ended up 1-2 in this race, would he expect Yar to give that place back to him? I think in the context of the championship, maybe not, but I don't really know what the dynamics like behind the scenes with those two. Whether it's a little bit more McLaren or a little bit more, I don't know, THR, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, I was thinking Fernando Alonso or Ferrari, where the teammate just always had to get out of the way, but or Michael Schumacher or Ferrari, come to think of it as well. But yeah, Tom Stevens, I think he's a very pragmatic man. He knows. Oh, is Milnek in the lead? There we go.
Yeah,
so
something's happened up there in front. So Maciej Winnick is up into the lead of the race, and we didn't see exactly what that was, but
I think just a clean overtake. I think Milnek's got the hurry up, seeing the pace of Yartayan behind him.
Yeah, but it's not like he was lining him up for laps or anything like that. He was sticking behind him, and that's just come slightly out of the blue there. Maybe caught Loic Mounier off guard as well, or maybe there was a slight error. We'll have to have a look at a replay if we possibly can. But anyway, Alex Lehone out has disposed of Robin Merlin, gets back up into the points-paying positions, P15 there, and with 20 laps to go in this race, we're still none the wiser as to what the order is going to look like at the end. Of course, the big question marks are the 3 stoppers, the likes of Tom Stevens, for example, who we know will have to make one last pit stop. And then, of course, we have drivers out there pushing hard, Xavi Ross, Yartayan, etc. We're going to see a replay now of that move for the lead. You can see he is a little way back here from Loic Mounier. I think there's probably been some kind of a mistake here as we come up towards the final turn on this lap.
Oh, little moment at the final corner, but you're right, nothing too dramatic.
Yeah, still, so out of the final corner we're fine, through the first couple of corners. Is he going to line him up out of turn 4 maybe? No criticism of our cameraman Remco de Zeeuw, but we have started this replay a little bit early, and no, that's okay, Remco. I'm not, like I said, no criticism to you. I know that
better early than too late.
But we are going to see now Maciej Winnick, and it is actually a pretty straightforward move there. DRS. Was there a lag spike? Okay, keep your eye on Loic here.
Ooh, I think it was just before this when he was coming out of the corner. Look, there we go.
Spike.
And he moves just a little bit closer. There we go. Yeah, just saw it there. Not as big as Milnek's one earlier, but still.
We were hearing suggestions of a lag spike, and I didn't see it first time. You're right, it's not as big as the one that Winnick had earlier on. But once again, a lag spike has played in to an overtake being made between the two of them. And of course, that would have cost Mounier time and gotten his nerves a little bit. And they both continue on their way. Let's hope
Tyne's
that,
within 10 seconds of Loic Mounier now. They are starting to lap the back markers, which could be a bit of a saving grace ever so slightly. Might distract the Tyne ever so slightly as he has to lap them. I think that's the sole remaining super interior Lalu that's in between them right now. As you see Robin Panzer pitting from 8th position, making what should be his final stop of the race to get to the end on mediums. I think a lot of these others are running as long as they are because they're holding out for the soft tyres for the final stint.
Okay, just 18 laps to go now. Robin Panzer has made his final stop. It won't be long before we see certain drivers also pulling into the pits. Tomasz Wok goes through, Jose Soriano goes through as well, and out of the pits comes Panzer. Okay, I just noticed in the work. So this is an old message I just noticed in the broadcast channel that we have here in Discord where we communicate. But Remco was looking to see what happened to Soriano earlier, why he started to drop back and couldn't find anything. And that is absolutely okay because I'm not sure there actually was anything. I think he started to fade on his tyres and has just kind of lost that contention a little bit. Alex Lahoe now on the back of Sven Schubert. And this is a scrap for 13th place, although Lahoe on fresher, faster tyres and that sort of thing. And in fairness as well, Tomasz Wok behind him, his Road to Formula teammate, is also gaining on the two of these and setting personal best laps as he goes. He's actually not too far off the... Oh, actually, I was going to say he's not too far off the first lap of the race, but I was looking at the wrong time. Fastest driver on the track right now is actually Geoffrey Fournier, by the look of it, in 9th position, chasing down Xavi Rose and the like. As we continue to watch this scrap, who are going to gain a place as Dylan Fisher make another pit stop.
Yeah, Dylan couldn't really have got the softs to go any longer than 12 laps, so he's going to have to do another soft tyre stint to the end, you would assume, unless he's going to go for the mediums just to play it a bit safer here. But yeah, Jarl Tyne and Geoffrey Fournier, as you say, the two fastest drivers on track. Not much to choose between their lap times, as Tyne now 8 seconds behind Loic Mounier and Mathieu Milner, as we look at Xavi Ross, who's caught up to the back of Mark Schluter, who has sort of lost out a little bit by following the THR strategy, hasn't he? Because he's now stuck behind Stefan Ruel, and he's got the Adonis of Ross on fresher tyres bearing down on him, who's with 6-lap old tyres compared to Schluter's 17-lap old tyres. So yeah, him and Ruel looking a bit vulnerable at this phase of the race, and they're about 7 seconds behind Adam Maguire now.
Okay, and sorry, I had a little bit of a lag spike myself there. That's okay. We continue on.
Yeah.
And
I think Geoffrey Fournier is catching him as well. Here comes Xavi Ross.
He's being lined up by Rose. Rose a little way back. This is where Schluter had his accident a year ago with Tom Stevens. Not that he'll want reminding of that. Into the pits they both go now. Schluter and Ruel.
And Tom Stevens as well, crucially.
Yeah, there we go. I think Stevens is probably a little out of contention for the win now. I think that second stint didn't go quite as well as he would have wanted, but that third stint rather, because he's already made 2 pit stops before this one. That was his 3rd stop, and he's now on those fresh, soft tyres. Now is his time to fly, and we know just how fast Tom Stevens can be. So I'm excited to see where he ends up at the end of this one. A podium is absolutely still on the cards. Potentially a win. We don't yet really know what's going on with Winnick and Mounier, and of course Tyne. We're not sure as Tomasz Wok now goes to the inside of Schubert.
Oh!
That's a late move, and there's a little touch, and he's lucky not to get his whole front wing taken off in that one. Takes another little look. That one was even later, and he's going to get rather swallowed up by the rest of the pack now. It's his teammate Lahoe directly behind him. But yeah, as I was going to say, we're not entirely sure who we're expecting pit stops from in this late stage.
Well, definitely Tyne.
I was going to say, it's that point in the race where drivers, in theory, could go to the...
Oh, 2 leaders in, Milner and Mounier, so Tyne is going to extend a bit longer then. No, he's coming in too.
And Tyne also comes in, so Adam Maguire will lead the race for a lap. This is the first time in this race that we've seen Maguire not pitting on the same lap as Jarl Tyne. And crucially, that does mean that Mounier and Winnick extend extended it to a 2-stop. They've done one less stop than the drivers around them, the likes of Jarl Tyen. That's Stein Hangraf going through. He's still due a pit stop, but he may well hold up Loic Mounier just a little bit. And he's split the two of them. He's split Mounier from Maciej Młynek. And Stevens comes out just behind his teammate Jarl Tyen as well. Now, do they swap back, as Stevens is the driver who's just pitted, and they swapped earlier on. Młynek has now got past Geoffrey Fournier, puts another car between himself and Mounier. And with 15 laps to go, this is where the race is truly on, Ed.
I think Tyen is the one that's just pitted, not Stevens. Stevens pit the lap before, didn't he? So even less reason, I think, for them to swap over. Although they've got this red archer of Kilk holding them up. Moynier's already cleared Hangraf, crucially up ahead. So that is very much to their benefit then. So THR are closer. Tyen was able to close a lot in that last stint, but they've still got a lot of work to do if they want to win this one. Młynek, you have to say, is in the best position at the moment, but what will Fraser Tartan do with Adam Maguire up front? I was going to say for Sven Schubert as well, him holding up a train of cars was very helpful for Tom Stevens as Tyen dives up the inside of right Kilk there, and Stevens is going to follow and make a short work of him as well, it seems.
And Stevens does go through. He's got a long straight to do it in, and he'll have the inside line as well. He'll be slightly off that line, but should end up doing that pretty straightforward. There's Maguire leading the race by just under 10 seconds now. He's not really going to be able to hold anyone up for the THR drivers or anything like that. I think he's just got to focus on his own race at this point and see what happens. Stein Hangraf in the pits. Right, Kilk is also in the pit lane. 14 laps to go now. Hygo Poom comes into the pits, just outside of contention, but to be honest, Singapore's the kind of track where if you keep going, anything's possible. Alex Lahoe now, 10th position, on the back of Sven Schubert. Also has the DRS open himself and getting closer. We've seen some late moves today from both of the Road to Formula racing cars, but that would have been a bit too late, even for Alex. And Sven Schubert's safe for yet one more lap.
Yeah, Schubert's done well to really hold up to Road to Formulas. That's why when Stevens pit, he came out well ahead of them, unlike in the previous stint where he had to sort of overtake them, and it got a little bit tense with him and Tyen, wasn't it? Having to make their way through. Whereas this stint, Sven Schubert's made the job a bit more straightforward for them. Loic Mounier, purple middle sector there as he tries to chase down Geoffrey Fournier, who's just been passed by Maciej Młynek then. And I'm looking at our leaders. Adam Maguire in from the lead. Xavi Ross has done 10 laps on the medium tyre. Surely he can't be trying to get to the end. Surely we are looking at Młynek, Mounier, Tyen, Stevens, our top four, trying to fight to the end on these soft tyres. I don't really see Xavi Ross or Geoffrey Fournier being too involved here, but Fournier might hold up Mounier and back him into Tyen a little bit here if he's not careful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it either, but you can never really count anything out, so keep half an eye on it at least. Maguire comes out in pretty much the same place that he was before, just a couple of seconds behind Tyen and Stevens. Yes, he's lost a couple of seconds, but it won't affect him that much in the grand scheme of things. There was an interesting point brought up, an observation you could say, brought up by Oliver Taras a few minutes ago, saying that... actually, no. Oh, it was Sergio Fletcher who was asking how did Loic lose 4 seconds to Maciej Młynek, and I think some of that would have been on pit entry, some of it would have been there was a little bit of traffic on pit exit, as well as that Loic was already starting to fade slightly from Młynek on that lap. He was about a second behind by the time they got into the pits, and also I think he was just a little slower on pit road as well. Yeah,
could also be that HRT invested more into pit stop times as well.
I was about to say I should check out how much they've actually invested into their pit stop times.
Oh, here we go.
Fournier makes an important move on Fournier there, up the inside, and goes through into third position as it is at the minute. And here's Stevens on the back of Jarl Tyen, giving a little bit of a head scratcher to the THR squad.
I think Stevens is just trying to get DRS from the back of Tyen as we see Panzer having a go at Schubert now. Oh, they make contact and off track goes Robin Panzer. He'll have to give that place back to Schubert, surely. Yeah. But both Road to Formulas now are going to pull a big gap to this battle, and Robin Panzer has not given the place back. He knows he's already in trouble in this race, and now Schubert is going to lose another position to Chris Shepherd, who goes up the inside at the first corner, and now through comes Vrolt and Mark Schluter as well.
So does that mean Panzer will have to give up 4 positions now to give the place to Sven Schubert there? He took the Lewis Hamilton line.
No!
Oh, and there's a collision! Oh, and Sven Schubert backs it into the barriers. And that was a
dear.
collision with Mark Schluter there, who tried to go around the outside. They just locked wheels, and Schubert was rather unsportingly dumped into the barriers. We'll have to see a replay to see if we can apportion blame to either one of those drivers. But that could have taken Schubert out of contention for points there.
Yeah, very lucky for Mark Schubert, but I think that was Sven, him and Mark Schluter have had a bit of needle before, not just here, but in other championships as well. You see Schluter's got the overlap around the outside, he's got the momentum and the fresher tyres. Schubert dives in, misjudges it, and that felt a little bit desperate from Sven, I have to say, considering he just lost a load of positions. He was trying to just not lose one more. Stevens has been let back through into 5th by Jarl Tyen, crucially, while I've been watching this. And this is a replay of the Panzer move. Around the outside, just makes contact and then decides, oh, okay, I'll just carry on then and pretend nothing happened.
Panzer cuts the corner. Schubert can't believe it. And then there's a little bit of a kerfuffle on the corner exit as 3 more drivers try their hand at that one. And Panzer now continues on in 10th position. Matching Winnick now going for the lead on Xavi Rose and does get through. He'll be followed through in 1 second's time by Loic Mounier. Maybe not actually, because Mounier's hung out to dry on the outside. And Rose will split
defending
them for the
hard.
time being.
Yeah, it's almost like you'd be forgiven for thinking Ross is part of the HRT team, the way he's defending here, but he was not about to let Loic Mounier follow through, and that is really helping THR, but they're still quite a way behind, over 5 seconds behind Geoffrey Fournier at the moment, and not really making inroads here. So Loic Mounier can see the lead disappearing up the road in front of him, and he needs to find a way past Xavi Ross, but the young Spaniard here is making a bit of a name for himself. He has a bit of a reputation as not the easiest man to pass, so Loic will have to find a way, and very quickly.
Indeed, we're going to watch him again now as he'll have another chance here actually, and he goes to the inside, and that's pretty straightforward. To be honest, it looked a little too straightforward. I think he was probably laying on the push to pass. And the next one! And so is Tomasz Vok and Robin Panzer. There's been a mass disconnect out there. Jorge Markinev has disappeared as well, but crucially, the race leader is out of the race all of a sudden. Maciej Winnick will have absolutely no chance now of holding on to that lead that he cultivated so well. We're seeing a replay now of Tomasz Vok as something happened to him. But anyway, I'm afraid this is rather being overshadowed by what's just happened. Tomasz Vok is out of the race, I think. Jorge Markinev disappears. Oh my goodness, absolute catastrophe here. And the Alessandro Maggio curse hits 4 drivers at the same time.
Didn't this happen late on in Mexico as well? It was Vac and Martin, wasn't it, that both got disconnected around about the same time. And then Milnek and Maggio both got taken out earlier on through the same issue. There we go, just with nearly just 10 laps to go, Milnek is cruelly snatched out of a race-leading position, and you've got to feel for him because that's 3 races in a row now. That's happened to the Polish driver.
Wow.
He had that brilliant win at Indianapolis, and this is a season that so easily could have promised so much more for him. And through no fault of his own, both Adonises are out now, I think.
Rose is out.
Yeah, there we go.
Out as well. My goodness, they're dropping like flies all of a sudden. I really feel for these drivers because it seems to be a server issue of some variety, and my goodness. Okay, well I can't comment on that because first of all I don't understand techie things like the internet, but second of all we don't really know exactly what is going on, but it does definitely appear that Xavi Rose is also out of the race, and there will be no points for Adonis Racing here today. Here's Mark Schluter now lining up Chris Shepherd, but that hands the lead to Loic Mounier, and he's got a big gap back to Tom Stevens and Jarl Tyen, who are both still pushing. I was expecting Stevens to be let back past Tyen, and then he was, so that doesn't come as a surprise. Geoffrey Fournier is still in there as well, don't forget.
Yeah, I think Fournier is going to the end as well, so that could be a real problem for Stevens and Tyen. They are catching. Are they catching quickly enough? They should have a chance at him before the end as we look at this amazing battle just behind Alex Lahoe between him, Stefan Ruhl, Chris Shepherd and Mark Schluter for that final position in the top 6. Ruhl up the inside. He had slightly better tyres than Alex Lahoe's on the softs, but they will wear much quicker than Lahoe's mediums.
Okay. Oh, I still, sorry, I can't get over what's just happened there to Maciej Winnick. We've seen that happen. I mean, he retired in Italy the same day that Maggio got Thanos snapped out of the lead of the race.
Why is it always the leaders?
Yeah, I know. Like I mean, it's bad enough when it happens to somebody whose race has already been ruined by a poor qualifying or something. But when somebody is out in front, you know, leading the race, I've noticed as well, I think Jorge Marquez has rejoined the... Oh, well, he had rejoined the race, and now he's DNF'd again, so calls it a day. But yeah, my goodness, only 19 cars remaining now, all of a sudden. Here's Xavi Rose. This was a couple of laps, or maybe a lap, after the main disconnection. I think something else happened to him. Yeah, it's a separate disconnection.
It looked like he was about to lose the back end anyway, but
no,
yeah,
I think that's just... Yeah, I think that's just the way the server works. You can see
that Jorge Marquez trying to rejoin as well.
Yeah, so he did that a few minutes ago. So Marquez and Wok have both tried to rejoin the race, and then I think immediately called it a day again. Not quite sure why, but there you go. So 19 cars now remaining, with 8 laps to go in this one.
Oh, Stevens has cleared Fournier.
Past Fournier, and Tyen will follow suit. Adam Maguire is just behind him. I think this is now Stevens versus Munier for the win. And so we're going to keep an eye on the lap times and see what happens from here, as Adam Maguire sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, Maguire not wasting any time. He has got the freshest tyres of this group as well, let's not forget. But at the moment, THR would dearly love to limit the damage Fournier can do in the championship and get Tyen into second position, but they got Jeffrey Fournier in between, and that is really hurting them here. So Stevens now knows he needs to clear off up the road, because this is his best chance of taking the overall win and avoiding getting the call up to move over here.
Okay, Jeffrey Fournier, P3, holding steady. I don't think, with all due respect to Jeffrey, and I was wishing him luck for the race, but with all due respect to him, I don't think he stands much of a chance of holding off the charging Jarl Tyen and Adam Maguire at this point in time. I think the best he can hope for is 5th, but the 2 drivers behind him can't afford to lose too much time in this one, especially if they end up in a fight with Loic Munier towards the end of it.
127.9 for Stevens. He is flying.
Wow, yes. It's the fastest
and around the outside comes Tyen.
It's over a second faster than anyone else. Over a second faster than pretty much anyone else on track. And you're right, Tyen has got around the outside of Jeffrey Fournier to go up into that 3rd position now. So 2 THRs on the podium on the day where they will almost definitely wrap up. I mean, it's pretty much a certainty that they will wrap up the team's championship today, and deservedly so. But Adam Maguire as well is trying to join in with their fun and scythe his way past Jeffrey Fournier. And here he goes, up to the inside. Nicely done. Fournier breaks pretty early, but he knows that's not his battle. He's just got to stick with him now and maintain that 5th position. He's having a little look. But anyway, I think if Fournier finishes 5th, he will still be absolutely over the moon with that one, and so he should be. Poor Ed.
Go on.
No, I'm just saying, a chance to breathe for a few minutes after all of that, but we're about to see a replay of something.
This is how Stevens got through then. Yeah, and it's on that run out of turn 5 and 6 towards Memorial Corner, and there we go. Textbook move, DRS open. He was closing on Fournier at a rate of knots. Last lap from Stevens actually 28.4, so only 4/10 quicker than Loic Munier. The charge is starting to slow a bit, and Tom Stevens is running out of laps here. So Loic is doing just enough to hold on, and he pit a lap later than Tom Stevens, so his tyres, in theory at least, are in better condition. So Loic's still doing a brilliant job. With Maciej Milnak, unfortunately from his perspective, out of the way, it has made things significantly easy for Loic Munier, because not only is he now in a leading position rather than chasing the lead, but now he can just manage the gap rather than worrying about any cars in front of him. As now, the interesting thing is here, Jarl Tyen, is he going to get allowed back past Tom Stevens for the sake of the Drivers' Championship? And in fact, Adam Maguire is looking pretty racy at the moment as well, but he will no doubt just stay in behind and bank that 4th place, which would still be great points for Fraser Tartan.
It's Loic Munier leading the race. His teammate Jorge Marquez seems to have rejoined for a 2nd time, and yes, he's a long way out of contention for points, but hey, this is Singapore.
Heiko put him in the final points main position. He started at the very back of the grid as well, let's remind you. So that just shows never give up.
Yeah, absolutely right. And, you know, very much touching wood, there's always a chance of another disconnection or something, but let's keep our fingers crossed that doesn't happen. Dylan fishing out just behind Riot Kilk, observing him closely, seeing if there's any room for an overtake late on in the race with 5 laps to go. You can see there the positions that people have gained in this one. Stefan Rohr gained through pure strategy. It was a fantastic job right from the start there from Stefan. Chris Shepherd has sneakily worked his way up the order as well, 13 places gained. Robin Merling looks set for, and I shouldn't really say this, but looks set for points for stacks. It seems that every time I say that, it doesn't happen, but hey.
Well, Merno did it last time. So.
You're absolutely right. Stein Hangraf just gained another place there on Chris Shepherd, and this would easily be Stein Hangraf's best finish of the season so far. He's had 4 15th place finishes, but a 9th place finish would absolutely blow that out of the water.
Yeah.
And we haven't
best
really
career finish as well for Stein, because I think his best finish was 10th at Hockenheim last season, where he passed Tom Stevens right at the end in the wet. But yeah, this has been an interesting race strategically, and Green Stripes have made a lot of the right calls here. And if they can get a 9th and a 13th place finish, that might be just enough to get back ahead of Stacks in the championship. But they've got to be careful they don't get taken out. As look at all the defending that Leho is doing from Schluter, and Hangraf will want to make sure he doesn't get caught up in this.
Yeah, Green Stripes will be absolutely over the moon with this one, so they've just got to bring it home now. I know that he probably wants to attack the likes of Lehoux and Schluter, but he's got to remember as well that 9th place is a very valuable position for the team. Of course, Stacks is going to score points today with Robin Merling by the looks of things, and that would be his first points in Super League. But Hangraf and Soriano are both going to finish ahead of him as it stands, and that would take them away from that what do they call it, the wooden spoon position of the team's championship. On the same day, of course, that THR are going to win it. But anyway, this battle is not done yet. Stein Hangraf is properly lining him up and does go for a little bit of a lunge. He's up into 8th position now. Stein Hangraf flying in these late stages and gaining yet another position to go deeper into the top 10. And his heart will be racing at this point, I'm absolutely sure of that. But he's just got to keep it together now for a few more laps to score what would be a massive result for himself and for Green Stripes.
Yeah, and there's been a bit of good luck with others hitting trouble, but he has absolutely capitalized and made this sort of strategy at the end. He started on the softs, went for the mediums on 20 laps, and now he's done 2 soft stints near the end. He has absolutely gotten that to work in his favour, and he's made the moves when he's had to. So we see Heigo trying to take that 14th spot away from Robin Mulling. And Mulling, of course, who had so many great performances in FS1 for Rookie Monsters, finished on the podium as well, is now desperate to make his mark in Super League for the resurgent Stacks team, it must be said, after Lucas Murno's 8th position at Mexico a fortnight ago. And Robin Mulling given the team Christian Zerner something big to smile about here, but he's got to try and keep Heigo, one of the most experienced drivers in GPVWC, who knows exactly what he's doing, has made a few good overtakes in his time, even around Singapore as well. He's now got to make another one, but we're into 3 laps to go territory, and Stevens is not really catching Moynier anymore. It's in fact Tyan who is taking about half a second a lap out of him. And is the move inevitable here? Will THR have to swap for the sake of that Drivers' Championship?
Well, I don't know about that. I think I think it's fair at the minute. I think Stevens gave way to Tyan once, Tyan gave way to Stevens once.
But it's so close. It's so close in the drivers. If Yartan loses out by 3 points that he would otherwise have gained from this, THR are going to rue that, because they could be handing Loic Moynier the title here.
See, the reason this is playing on our minds so much is because of this whole papaya rules thing that takes place in the real world. And I really think they've just got to think about the race today. I think that it shouldn't matter which way round they finish, especially since Tom Stevens himself should still be in contention for this championship. Yes, okay, he's got very unlucky at the likes of USA and Belgium and Italy and Japan and pretty much everywhere else. He's got very unlucky this year. But and he is going to go through. So Jarl Tyen does go through into second position here, ahead of Tom Stevens. And I think they know that they've got no chance of catching Loic Mounier in these late stages. They're just not gaining fast enough. And they've done exactly what you suggested there, Ed. They have said, Jarl, you are our best chance of winning the Drivers' Championship. We're already winning the Teams' Championship. Now go on and get yours.
Yeah, they had to limit the damage as much as they could. But crucially, this has gone from a three-way title fight to a two-way one, as we see Reitkilk going around the outside, and losing it completely. And that's Reitkilk's day done in dramatic fashion at turn 7. Memorial corner. Well, we'll have to hold a memorial for Reitkilk's race there, because it has ended in the most spectacular way fashion. That's a lot of points for Red Archer out the window. But crucially, that puts Robin Mulling up to 13th now, and Sven Schubert into the final points-paying position.
Yeah, it's a big mistake for Wright. He just braked way too late there and smashes into the barriers. That's possibly the biggest crash I've seen at that corner. And I wonder if there was even like a brake fade or something like that, because that was a very high speed accident as he rocketed into the barriers. He was definitely on the brakes, so I don't know about brake fade. But anyway, that's the end of the day for that particular driver. And a shame for Reitkilk, who I think has been one of the most underrated drivers of this season so far. I think
absolutely.
Yeah, no, I've been keeping an eye on his performances. I think if I remember correctly, Canada was a very strong one for him, and then maybe
consistently getting those lower points and out qualifying Chris Shepherd a fair few times as well. Who's obviously Chris is no slouch whatsoever. So yeah, Wright, who sort of, they weren't sure who they were going to put in the second seat with Red Archer when they came back this season, and Wright has absolutely proved that he deserves to be in that seat, despite having that moment there where he nearly made a brilliant move on Dylan Fisher, and it all went spectacularly wrong, as Handgraf is continuing to put pressure on Alex Lahoe, as we just got one more lap to go. Much to the relief of my brother, who's trying to sleep in the other room, but very early. But yeah, nonetheless, Stein Handgraf, could he get past Alex Lahoe? Will Lahoe finally get a finish under his belt after so much bad luck since that third place at Spa-Francorchamps some weeks ago? Alex Lahoe desperately needs this P7, but Stein Handgraf is craving it, as you can see Chris Shepherd getting a bit impatient, desperate to pass the man who replaced him at Edge Esports, Mark Schluter.
Yeah, and let's not forget this would... is this Chris Shepherd's first top 10 of the season?
It was 9th in Japan, if I remember correctly, because everybody got taken out of Japan.
And also Belgium. Yeah, you're absolutely right. My apologies. But yeah, strong performance from Shepherd in what would only be his third top 10 finish of the season. So we got some real strong underdog performers today. And I mean no disrespect to them by calling them underdogs. We like to see people punching above their weight, and here we go, Stein Handgraf lining up Alex Lahoe. If he could get 7th place, could you imagine the scenes? We are now on the last lap here in Singapore, as Mounier leads the race by 4.5 seconds. He's got this sewn up now, he's just got to bring it home. It's close for third between Stevens and Maguire. I don't know what's going to end up happening there, considering they are not technically teammates, even though they are sister squads.
Well, they're free to race, surely, because THR will get that team starter sewn up. So now Fraser Tartan will be saying, well, Adam, for the sake of his team, needs the points here as well. So maybe Tom don't hold him up. I don't know. But yeah,
well,
Loic, here he comes.
On his contract, didn't he? But anyway, here comes Loic Mounier through the final couple of corners. Loic for just his second Super League victory. He's had 2 taken away from him due to penalties, but this one should stand. I see no reason why it doesn't. Loic Mounier wins in Singapore by 5 seconds at the end, and that gives him the championship lead. He was already the joint leader, but he will be securely in the lead now. Jarl Tyen is second, Tom Stevens is third. It's hotting up with just 2 rounds to go after this one. Adam Maguire returns to the Singapore streets where he's had so much success and scores a 4th place finish. And then Jeffrey Fournier, who told me earlier on he was expecting to be around about 15th, maybe a little bit higher than that, finishes 5th. Stefan Rolt was 6th, then Alex Lahoe. Stein Handgraf brings home a P8 for Green Stripes. Incredible drive from him, possibly my driver of the day. Then it's Mark Schluter and Chris Shepherd, great drive from himself. Dylan Fisher. Jose Soriano scores points on his debut for Green Stripes in 12th position. That's much higher than they would have even been expecting from him. coming into today. Then Robin Merling P13, scoring his first points in Super League. Congratulations to Robin Merling. Then it's Hugo Poom and Sven Schubert who scores there in 15th for FTR. You see a very excitable Loic Mounier doing burnouts and nearly donuts on the straight. You can see is that Alex Lahoe doing a similar thing in front.
Yep.
As Mounier dinks his car off the wall there, and then he'll find a complete track blockage up ahead. And I bet Alex Lahoe is glad he started this one. He was saying in the YouTube chat he hasn't done enough practice for it, but hey, he'd done enough practice to finish P7, and I think he'll be eating his words from that one. But anyway, Loic Mounier wins the Singapore Grand Prix, followed by the THR drivers Jarl Tyne and Tom Stevens, and we can say provisionally congratulations to THR for wrapping up the team's championship in fantastic form with 2 races still to go. Adam Maguire was 4th position, then it's Jeffrey Fournier, Stefan Roll, Alex Lahoe, Stein Handgraf P8 for Green Stripes, then Mark Schluter and Chris Shepherd. Great result for himself as well. And then we can tick over to the second tile if we can. Dylan Fisher P11 and Jose Soriano on his debut P12. Nothing to be sorry about that, and that's something I know. Sorry, that barely worked. Robin Merling P13,
horrendous.
Hugo Poom P14, Sven Schubert P15. Then it's Jakub Ekalalu, Pascal Pollen. Scott Flack finishes his first Super League race. Very well done to him. Riot Kilt smashes his car against the barriers, but I think will be classified potentially. And then Jorge Markiner did make it to the flag after rejoining the race. And those were your finishers, because then we get a whole page of DNFs, including the bitterly unlucky Mathieu Winnick, who also has to be in with a shout of getting driver of the day there. He was on course for, if not a win, definitely a podium, and I think there's no denying that. But anyway, that's your entire page of DNFs. And remember, last year's champion Jan Grankvist was also taken out of this race today. He goes from championship success to utter dismay in the space of a year, and that pretty much takes him out of contention for this championship, I'm afraid to say. Bitterly disappointing, but we still have 2 more races to go, so still plenty more to fight for. As you can see, the Brazilian Grand Prix will be in 2 weeks' time on the 23rd of October. I've invented a new month. And then the final race will be in Abu Dhabi in November. But don't go anywhere, because in just a few minutes' time we will be speaking to some of the drivers from that race, if they have any breath left to spare, and finding out exactly how it looked from their point of view. But Ed, what a job there from Loic Mounier, who does retake the championship lead.
Yeah, and 2 races to go. The gaps in the championship at the top is only 5 points between those 2. But yeah, the other story, as you say at the end there, Grankvist bitterly unlucky after taking pole position to be taken out of the race by Loic's teammate in the form of Marquez. So that is going to put, I think, Tom Stevens back into the top 3 in the championship. So Stevens has got a small chance, but I think mathematically it's going to look a little bit difficult for him. So yeah, I think Mounier, he took a crucial win today, didn't really put a foot wrong, and yeah, Jarl Tyne and THR, they went brave on the alternate strategy, but this time it didn't quite work in their favour. So it's going to be very, very exciting into these final 2 rounds. Which of these 2 is going to be a 2025 champion, because it still could really go either way, even though Loic very much on top on this occasion.
Indeed. So we're going to move into our interview room, because we can now speak to our race leader and our race winner and championship leader, Loic Mounier. Loic, hello and congratulations.
3rd time lucky. Thanks, guys.
But I was going to say, you've had 2 wins taken away from you due to penalties, but this one absolutely should stand, and well deserved too. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, well, it went better than expected. It's a bit of luck on my sides, because the server took out, not everyone in front of me, but like I had to clear 3 cars. I ended up clearing no one. So even if we had the tire advantage, it would have been very interesting to do this end of the race and fight those guys. But yeah, just my phone alarm has been ringing. Sorry, that was just in case I was going too slowly. Yeah, no, it's Luck finished the job, but the strategy was really good. We worked a lot on that strategy. Make sure the car was great on long runs, because it's so hard to overtake around here if you don't have a giga tire advantage. So we were always going to go with less stops today. You played dividends, you can see. Sorry, I was just trying
carry on.
to sort out. You can see Stefan, great race from him. Alex, amazing race from him. I'm so proud of my friend. And I think Jeffrey as well, like all in 5th, 6th, 7th. They started so far back with a 2-stop, you know. It's I think it was a good call.
Yeah, you're right. Very commendable drives from those guys as well. But a commendable drive for yourself to use the hard tyres for so long. Jan Grankvist was telling us earlier that the hard tyres, in his words, absolutely sucked. So somehow you managed to prove him wrong. How did you make your hard tyres not suck?
By not using them. I was just going, as it's what I mentioned, going long on the tires. You try to put as little temperature in them as you can. You minimize any wheel spin. If you have someone to give you DRS, you are saved. Yeah, it is really just nimble driving. I think I was finishing like. You can go much longer because the drop is a bit less. Yes, they're bad, but the fact that I would end up using the hards meant that I had to pit later than everybody that were doing 3 stops. So there was already this tire delta, quote unquote, and I wouldn't be as slow as everyone else just on that factor. And then the car just kept doing laps. There was nowhere. Like if I look at my telemetry, even from practice, there's basically no drop between the first laps and the last laps. So that's what made the 2-stop really great. It was that hard tire.
Yeah, well, that was definitely noticeable because we saw some of the fastest ever laps of Singapore today, and none of them were from you. But you were so close the whole way through on old tyres that just weren't losing their pace that you ended up making it work. So, have you learned anything from this race that you can take into the last 2 rounds at Brazil and Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, there was a few things. I need to look at the whole race, obviously, because there's been so many disconnections, and my engineer just kept telling me to focus on our strategy, our race ahead. So I think there's a few things to review because I end up knowing only 2 races, mines and THR's, which did great on the 3 stops, but ultimately too much traffic, as I would have mentioned earlier. So yeah, I've already learned 1 or 2 things from what happened around me, and then look at the rest. There's always a debrief after the races to learn, okay, what happened, what can be improved. This was good, this was bad, this was terrible. Never do it again, Loic. Oh my god, and then we can carry on.
Yeah, I don't think today's race fits into that last camp at all, but yes, congratulations, Loic. I'm going to hand over to our regular interviewer, Ed. So, Ed, do you have anything to add for our race winner?
A couple of things. Let me just think of one. Anyway, congratulations, Loic. That was a very, very strong performance, even though it would have been fascinating to see where Maciej Milnek would have finished as well, but obviously not your responsibility at all. You did it. You fought everyone that you could have in that race and came out on top against DHR, which is, as we've seen so often in the case this season, not easy. Do you know what I was thinking about, like, during the end of that race? I was thinking about last year's FSR Pro race where you were fighting for the win and you had that moment right after I predicted you to win where you were fighting Sergio Fletcher and then you spun it out that final corner into the wall. And I remember I'd never heard you so dejected as you did after that one. And how far you've come since then, it's incredible to see, because you've got a 5-point lead and there's only 2 races left to go. Or well, you definitely got a 5-point lead. We'll see what else happens, I guess. But in these final 2 races, not least elsewhere as well. But yeah, obviously it's been since Mexico. You had the tricky race at the end where you gamble on the dries and then it rained and this was a performance that really put right the things that went wrong in Mexico, it must be said. So would you agree with that assessment? I'm sure your mind was in a completely different place from mine, but that's just what I was thinking. So let's turn that into a question. How do you feel?
I'm hungry. I want to eat.
That's what the alarm was for.
To go, that was to get some food. No, well, to
Uber
put
Eats at the door.
to answer in order, yeah, I thought about that FSR crash a lot throughout practice mainly. In the race, I was concentrated enough to keep on doing my thing, but yeah, you look at that wall, it's not as bad as real life, because in real life it definitely changes you, probably a crash. And here it's sim racing, maybe your wrists hurt for a day, but then you go. It's just mental, and I think I've done a great job to improve since then. Deferred my way to work on the cars, changed my equipment. That was very good. I recommend a direct drive to anybody. and just a lot of time went through, and it showed this year. And for Mexico, well, if it rains, don't stay on slicks. If your radar says no rain and it's drenching, the radar is probably wrong. That's what I would conclude for Mexico.
I think Caitlin came to the same realization as well at the end, because she definitely didn't expect it to rain either.
Sometimes just trust your guts a bit more.
Absolutely. And so final question from me, 2 races to go. Are you feeling confident? Because it's really now just between you and Tyne, with Grankvista out of the picture, essentially 37 points behind you.
I'm not putting Jan out of the question at any point yet. I can't say it's too early, but he's the champion. You can't count him out. We know what he can pull off. Even today, he would have been a great fighter. I don't know what happened to him. I just saw him left the server, but I need to see.
It was a collision with your teammate.
For fuck's sake.
Apologies. Merci.
13 rating. Okay, my bad. I will pay back the revenue.
The lost ad revenue. Yes, don't worry. I'm sure our sponsors will forgive us.
Oh no, mas. Anyway.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's.
I shouldn't have told you. It's my fault.
No, it just means it's going to be a priority on the review instead of what happened. And now I know it's something like this. Okay.
But anyway, I think we sort of ran out of questions then, so there's nothing left to really say. But congratulations, Loic, on your 2nd win of the season. You had a lot of near misses. You had to be very patient, but finally you get another one other than Japan that you get to keep, and well deserved too. So best of luck for these final 2 races, Loic, and I'm sure you're going to give it everything to become the 2025 Super League Drivers Champion.
Thank you, guys. Never give up.
So speaking of champions, we have got a team that's been waiting very, very patiently to talk to us, and that is, of course, THR. So let's drag Toby Davis and his 2 drivers, Tom Stevens and Jarl Tyne, in and hear what they have to say. So we're now joined by the THR trio, as has been the case so often this season, but it's the big one. We can say without a shadow of a doubt, no matter what happens in the next 4 weeks or so, they are the team's champions with a definitively over 90-point lead. I think it's something like 120 points now. I haven't done the maths just yet. I think it's TOP 233, THR 361. So yeah, that is 128 points. So there we go. That is more than enough, no matter what happens, as I say. So congratulations to team principal Toby Davis, Jarl Tyne, who finished 2nd today, and Tom Stevens. And indeed, there was great teamwork on display from both drivers throughout the race. Shall we start with Jarl, as we tend to do in these last couple of rounds? Jarl, not quite the win that I think you've been hoping for, but it was a bold call on the strategy for you and Tom to pit as early as you did. And indeed, at several points in the race, Tom moved aside to help you out when you were on the faster tyre. That happened twice, of course. Do you think there could have been much more taken out today, or did you maximise it?
After we pitted on lap 9 and 10, considering we finished 2nd and 3rd, that to me is a victory. we had to endure so much traffic and shenanigans in the middle of the race there, and having to do one extra stop at a track like this, it's so much to manage, and gaps, and everybody's doing different strategies, and you never know what you meet with the car up ahead, so you really have to be on your toes and be aware of what's coming up. But yeah, I really am very happy that we clinched the title in a double podium, but at the same time, a little bit disappointed that it was as close as 4 seconds with Loic, considering how much traffic that we had to endure, and we lost plenty more than 4 seconds. It's probably close to 10, maybe even 15 seconds. So in that sense, it's a bit of a shame that the only person that beat me is the person I'm fighting in the championship with. It would have been more satisfying, or not satisfying, but it would have been better if, for example, Jan beat me and then Loic be behind me or something like that. But yeah, I really, two feelings today. But overall, I should very much be happy, and huge thanks to Tom and Toby for extreme hard work, and as well as Sven and a stand-in for Adam, who did a fantastic race. He, at the end of the race, was very, very quick, and what a race for him to come back and finish P4 after being out of it for quite a while.
Yeah, shame for him from his point of view. He doesn't get to keep up his winning streak at Singapore. But yeah, it's not like you and Monza, is it? Perhaps it wasn't meant to be today for him, but nonetheless, he pushed both you and Tom along throughout the race very, very nicely indeed. So, final question from me, y'all. Big picture here. You are 5 points behind now going into these last 2 races. Obviously, team's title is in the bag. So, is it all about that Drivers' Championship now?
Yeah, it's like I said, I can't remember which race it was, maybe it was Monza. Like I said, the pressure is still on Loic. He's got most of the cards, and it's up to him whether or not he can give up the pressure. And pace-wise, in terms of car upgrades and stuff, is something that, once again, is very rarely mentioned on stream, which is also important, I would think, to mention. His car is very much quicker than ours, and having to be as close as we can, I think we have to be very much happy with the pace that we have. Even having the chance to beat him is a win in my books. So
I'll have you know, I spent the stream doing nothing but talking about car update figures and percentages. I barely talked about the race, in fact.
Really? Okay.
Nah, I'm kidding. Right? You're absolutely right. We could do to mention it once or twice, a little more. But anyway, congratulations on the P2, y'all. It's going to be an exciting end to this championship, and between you and Loic, it's going to be fascinating to see who comes out on top. But well done on securing that team's championship, which I know was the big objective for you, and I'm sure you're going to put in quite a show to end our season. As I hear, the next track, Interlagos, is a track that your teammate does pretty well at, so maybe that can play to your advantage.
Yeah, my final words are, I think we have a trick up our sleeve for the upcoming rounds. We'll see how it plays out, but I think it'll be a very, very tight championship. I think it'll come down to the final race for sure. So may the best man win.
It does seem inevitable, but anyway, thank you very much for talking to us, y'all, and well done on second place today. But moving on to the man who finished third, Mr. Tom Stevens, who very much led the strategy today and ultimately helps secure that team's championship by a pretty comfortable margin in the end. Tom, we saw a couple of times you had to move over for y'all tactically, especially towards the end. You were trying to catch Loic, and unfortunately, having pit the lap before him, did the softs just start to fade before the end, and did you realise that you'd have to play the team game again?
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty tricky race, to be honest. Singapore always is. I usually find it one of the more challenging ones, but yeah, after a decent quali, I was pretty happy with where I was and with who was around me, because Jarl and Adams were about, so that always makes it a bit nicer. But the first stint, oh my goodness, it was just a train. It was it felt like I couldn't make any progress, so we tried to do something a bit unorthodox, do a crazy undercut, and yeah, that did kind of make it more difficult for the rest of the race, especially with the traffic, but we rolled with it, gambled with it, and then tried to make it work, and a few times, yeah, I did swap with Jarl because we have the team's best interests at heart, and we wanted to maximise the result that the team could have gotten. So when Jarl came up behind me with the fresher tyres, I just let him go. We swapped a few times, and then yeah, the final stint, we knew to catch Loic, one of us was going to have to push and one of us was going to have to save. So we made the call for me to go ahead, push as hard as I could, try and drag Jarl along while he's saving, and then hope that we could make the gap up. But unfortunately, we couldn't quite do it. Loic was just one step ahead of us today in terms of the strat, so yeah, big congrats to him. But looking forward to the next race. I'm pretty looking forward to it.
Of course you are, as I hinted earlier. It's not all bad news in the drivers, by the way. With Grankvist retiring today, you were just 1 point behind him in that fight for third in the Drivers' Championship. So obviously, I think there's 50 points left on offer, and you are about 49 behind Loic. So mathematically, it's not looking too promising from the overall Drivers' Championship, but would beating Jan at least give you at least sort of soften the blow ever so slightly? You obviously won the team's championship, which was the main goal, as you keep telling us, but still, that must be at least something to aim for.
I mean, yeah, I'm just not going to look at the driver standings for now. I'm just going to try and maximise my own race and help.
Okay, pretend I said nothing. I shouldn't have mentioned it.
yeah, and help Jarl as best as I can, especially with how close he is with Loic in the standings currently. But yeah, today, ecstatic that we've managed to wrap up the championship again, and just big thanks to everyone at THR and FTR as well. Huge thanks to everyone. Thanks like Toby, Jarl, Adam, Sven, just everyone. Sorry, I'm forgetting names now. I'm just over the moon. We managed to wrap up the championship again, and yeah, the focus will be on finishing on the top step of the next two races.
Yeah, and that's 3 in a row now, and you've been at the team for each of their 3 teams' titles as well, Tom. So obviously you played a huge role in that, and had taken many great wins. But for a bit of better luck in some rounds this season, I think we'd be talking about an even closer championship fight than we already are. So I'm sure you are not done yet this season, and we got a few more great performances from Tom Stevens that I'm very excited to talk about. So obviously hard luck today, Tom, because I know he desperately would want to seal the team start with a win, but there's still Interlagos to come. So best of luck there. And I'm sure you and Jarl are going to be working in lockstep once more.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And finally, from THR, let's have a quick word with the big boss, the big cheese, the big head honcho, Toby Davis. Third time you are on the top of the table, Toby. And obviously, we heard Jarl and Tom are very happy. I'm sure your happiness will exceed even theirs, because this is the dream for you, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 100% record in Super League now, which is also nice. We've won team championships 5 years in a row in GPVWC, so very happy with that. And it's all hard work. Multiple people. Jarl especially and Tom have obviously drove the wheels off the car all season and put all the prep work in, but there are people behind the scenes, Luke Mitchell and Dave Videk, Mike Quint, Scott Mitchellman from the SL2 drivers, current SL2 roster, very helpful with their development of the setup, and of course Sven, Moritz, Matt Richards at the start of the season, everyone who's driven for FTR, very much appreciated, and they've all put the hard work in to get the championship. It's nice to be talking about it with 2 rounds to go. So very pleased for the team, and I think the guys have driven so well, especially in the last 5 races, to be where we are now. Essentially, we've had 1-2 at Hungary. Obviously, Jarl won Italy. We had a 1-3 at Mexico, and obviously a 2-3 here at Singapore. So it's those sorts of results that get you the team's championship at the end of the season. So I'm very happy for the guys.
It did also help there was a pretty miserable day for both TOP and Super Venturi, with none of their 4 cars scoring at all. But that only serves to underline how difficult Singapore Grand Prix is, and what a great job THR did, not just today, but throughout the rest of the season, and indeed the past 2 seasons as well. So it's becoming a bit of a habit. So let's we can't talk about 2026 just yet though, because drivers still to come. So any final thoughts, Toby, before you let you go? Looking ahead to Interlagos and Abu Dhabi, obviously Loic took the win today, but Jarl still 5 points behind him. I know you're craving that first driver's title. Denahan stopped you, Jan stopped you, and now Loic is the only one that can stop you.
Yeah, I think Tom has been very level-headed today, and it was obviously Tom still with it, technically in with a chance of the title, and was very selfless today. So I'm very, very impressed with that very mature drive today to try and do the best he could to help both cars get as high as possible, and that was good stuff. I would say I think today we got the strategy wrong, and it's not often I say that. I pride myself on my ability to get the strategy correct usually, and I think we missed a trick with the, as Jarl alluded to, with the traffic. Probably disregarded the 2-stop too early in our look at the strategy, and equally Jarl was telling me in that first stint he wanted to extend, and for me it was about getting out into that clearer air, but it turned into quite a lot of traffic in the end, and Mlinek was able to go quite a lot of laps longer and still came out next to Jarl, so it didn't work, and it's not often I say that, so I need to go and look at the analysis of it and see how I can improve myself for the future and do better for the team, because again today we had the pace once again to fight for a 1-2, and it's a nice problem to have, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I feel like I let down Jarl, especially today. I think we could have got him a race victory, so I apologize for that, but it is a happy note. We have won the team's championship, and there's 2 rounds to go, and it's only 5 points, so yeah, there's plenty of time. Well, 2 rounds for Jarl to overturn it, and if the results are reversed, we go into the final race completely level. So
I thought you said we weren't talking about that, Toby.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, as much as the team's championship is wonderful, I would really want to get that driver's title, and I think Jarl really deserves it. He's put so much hard work into this season, and a lot of it is selfless. He does a lot of the setup work and really thinks about every single part. He's the most competitive person I've ever come across, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad, but he is super competitive, and I think we'll all be behind him now to try and get it over the line for him if we can. But yeah, well done to Loic today, and well done to TOP and SV for pushing us hard. But yeah, we go again. See what happens at the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, newsflash: Toby Davis bored of teams titles, wants drivers instead.
Thankfully, I write the articles.
It's a good problem to have, as you say.
Yeah.
Can I say
Anyway.
as well, Toby, congratulations. Honestly, I've said it year in and year out that you guys are by far the most professional team in sim racing, and I think the results speak for themselves. The proof's in the pudding. Like, you come in, you run it like a business, and you get those results. And I think the fact we were all talking about the title that you were about to win before the season had even started. I mean, if you look back to the podcast or whatever,
Yeah.
Carlos was absolutely convinced that you were going to win the championship, and then the discussion became how much are you going to win it by, that sort of thing.
Well, they had a tough start, remember? Let's not forget. There were a
Yeah,
couple of
exactly.
bumps in the road, and then they really got under control.
Yeah, it didn't start well, but the momentum that you've picked up now, I mean, it speaks for itself, like I've said. So yeah, congratulations, Toby. Well deserved, as always. And congrats, Tom and Jarl. You guys are incredible.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, and that means a lot to me personally, and I'm sure it means a lot to the guys as well. We do work very, very hard, and to be honest, we try and compete as fairly and as strategically. We try and use data. We try and do things mathematically, and then in the off time we try and have fun as well. So I like to have the team as a positive environment, and it has been the way for a long time at THR that it's a positive environment to be in. Yeah, I'm looking forward to GPV Day as well. It should be a lot of fun. So yeah, it's a great place to be, and I'm so proud of everyone involved. So thank you very much. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, and once more, congratulations to our three-time 2025 Teams Champions in Super League, THR, and well done Toby, Tom, and Jarl, and best of luck for the driver's title for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Now, speaking of fun, there's somebody who's waiting very patiently for the THR celebrations to conclude, so he can talk to us, and that's the man who started 12th, but finished P7 today, and that is Mr. Alex Laho, who joins us now.
THR's done a very good job actually on the... Congrats on them on the Teams Championship. They've done a really great job, and yeah, they've worked really hard.
Oh, that's nice of you to say, Alex. Shall we talk about you for a change, if that's okay?
Yeah, sure, why not? Huh?
Yeah, so P12 on the grid. Oh, there's an interesting start with Xavi Ross, but both of you survive. A little bit of a McLaren moment. Turn 3.
Dude, my almost my whole car was blue because of it. I was like, bro, Xavi, what?
Well, we know it was blue because they changed the livery from purple to blue.
The livery was blue, the HD was blue, the damage was blue.
There we go. You're never disappointed when you have an Alex Laho interview.
That's pretty much what happened.
You were preparing that. You had a lot of time to prepare, in fairness. So then the race carries on. You end up defending quite hard from the THRs, interestingly, doing your best to stop them beating Loic and or winning the team's title.
Speaking about that, I actually didn't really defend. I was just waiting until they went past me to box because my tires were pretty much dead. I was on like.
It must have been Thomas that nearly squeezed Jarl in the wall.
It happens, but yeah, I tried like on the last stint, the second stint, I overtook Sven Schubert, and then I pressed the pit limiter.
Oh,
la.
You did a hikey over line.
Pretty much. But that was frustrating because he was holding us up at this point, and it could have meant like one more position, knowing that half the grid disconnected on like 53, 52.
It was also how Tom Stevens was able to pit and come out ahead of you in that sort of middle stint there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the end, because Stefan Ruot gets past, and then you have to defend for the rest of the race from a very strong-looking Stein Handgraf. Were you surprised by that, or did you enjoy it?
Well, I was surprised, but not surprised at all, because he boxed pretty late, and then the softs did the job. But the thing is, after Stefan got past, I tried to save a replay by pressing one of the keys on my keyboard, and that was the free move cam. So I drove into the wall after that.
Oops.
I actually drove into the wall after that.
It's kind of a miracle you finished P7, isn't it, after all this?
Yeah, I mean, my car was completely destroyed. The whole car was blue, side pods included, after that hit. And like the first part was the contact with Xavi Ross on lap 1. So like 3/4 of my car was blue, and then the final part came with that contact with the wall. I was lucky not to DNF actually. That was pretty hard hit.
Speaking of DNFs, the last couple of races have been filled with them. Alex, obviously, going into this race, you didn't sound confident at all, I think it must be said. Maybe if you were putting it on publicly to play down your chances, I don't know. But surely this is an important finish to at least start to end this season on a high, given morale had not been particularly soaring in the last couple of weeks. You really deserved a finish. And I have to say it was a good defensive try given everything you're up against in that one. So how important is this for you?
Pretty important, to be fair, because I hate Singapore. That's one of my worst tracks. I hate it so much. Now we're gonna head into Interlaken. I mean, P7 is great, not gonna lie, but virtually I would have ended up P9 without the disconnects. Unfortunately for Maciej, Thomas, which were having great races. Maciej was on for the win, actually. I heard. For Interlagos and Abu Dhabi, let's see how many laps I can do, but I started practicing today actually for Singapore. So I was like, it is what it is, and then P7, like, sure. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, at least you didn't do what the TOP team did, where they partied the night before.
I swear, you have one of those weekends where I spent so many laps like Jeddah, and then I qualify P20 because I cannot drive for a living. And then I barely drive and I get P7. Why? Why?
rather than a professional one. But anyway, you did a very solid job today, Alex, and I think nobody would begrudge you that P7 whole train of very good cars at the end with a car that was barely held together by spit and string, by the sounds of things. But
I mean,
anyway,
that car was held by super glue at this point.
Brist super. Anyway, so thank you very much for doing those, Alex, and yeah, I think you'll be glad to know you are equal in P10 in the standings with Matthew Williams, who missed the last
like
7 or 8 races.
Yeah, of course, with like more than twice the races. Yes.
Well, you DNF for the same amount of races that he missed, though, so I think it evens out.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a point. You have a point, yeah. You have a point.
It's not a nice point, but I'm making it nonetheless. Anyway, thanks for doing this, Alex.
Does make sense.
Yeah.
Thank you guys
and
for.
Best of luck for the final 2 races of the season. No worries.
time to kick some people. I get. I not on track like in the wall, but kick like results wise.
Okay. Just please don't end up in prison. By actually kicking people.
No.
Right. Thank you very much for talking to us, Alex, and enjoy the rest of the evening, what little is left of it, given it's quite late.
Yep, thank you guys, have a good night, thank you for the stream, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Okay, as we let Alex Lowe finally leave, with something finally a spring in his step, it must be said, let's bring Caitlin Penny back in to end the broadcast. So, a great season, it must be said. A bad night for Jan Grankvist, but a very good night for Loic Moynier and for the THR team. 2 races to go. And as Yarltine said, I think a very telling comment, this is going down to the wire.
Yeah, exactly. It's always an interesting one signing off a broadcast when we've had somebody disconnect from the lead of a race, because there's always this question
10
of
laps to
what
go as well.
Exactly, like what might have happened, but then again, that's irrelevant because the points only care about what did happen. So congratulations to Loic Mounier, double congratulations to THR for wrapping up the team's championship. But if you think it's all over just because that championship is done, then you are sorely mistaken, because we still have 2 rounds left to determine the Drivers' Champion and everything else that comes with it. So make sure you tune in for Brazil in 2 weeks' time. Make sure you keep your eyes open for all of the other categories in the meantime, where there are plenty more championships to be won as well. And make sure that you join us for Abu Dhabi for the hotly anticipated championship finale in just under 1 month's time. Until Brazil, we will see you then. Bye bye.
Go Loic!